إن الحمد لله وكفاه والصلاة والسلام على رسوله المصطفى وعلى عباده الذين ارتضى ومن بهداهم اهتدى وبآثار أهل المدينة اقتفى وبعد فسلام الله على القوم أهلا وسهلا بكم ومرحبا Juan Leute, bienvenidos a todos. Bakhair, Ragle, Sasriyakal, Khushamadid, Kemcho, and Swagatam, people. Right, whoa, that has been very interesting. There's always teething issues, but it's part of the journey, I guess. I want to check. Shukran, ahlan wa sahlan bikum, Shadman, Sikandar, Zeba saying sound is clear. Shukran. Right, so yeah, wow. So what I'll also be doing is sharing a link. I will be taking some guests live as always. I want to talk a bit about, however, certain verses today, give some insights on how we can take some meaning from these verses for our daily lives. I also want to speak a bit about what's going on. I know I'd been off for a little while. A lot of people had been missing me, and I've been missing them. I've been missing you guys on it. This was, as the poet says, تشتاقكم كل أرض تنزلون بها كأنكم في بقاع الأرض أمطار. Allah. It's like how the earth, it then longs for the rain. That's what it's like. So, Gio, you guys, honestly, it's been awesome, and I've been genuinely, I've been missing you guys. So that's, look at the beloved, you're doing it. Right, so I want to speak a bit about that as well. I know there'd been an incident, a horrible incident. I'll say a few words about that as well. And a lot of people have been asking what's going on, Mufti, what about now, the live streams, and I'll share my thoughts on that as well. Okay. I'll also, meanwhile, I'm just going to get the link, right, so I can share that as well. Right, so alright, Miro the lamp, sorry, Micro. कहाँ से micro कर दिए आपको? Macro, you should be macro the lamp. Right, so first of all, now that I've told you, just a few words that what I'm going to do as soon as we start, but before I get into that, I'm going to have a catch-up word with you guys. But when we do start, I want to start by looking at some verses, and I'll explain why they're important, and then I'll take some questions. Some questions have already been submitted, and I'll also take you guys live as well. But first and foremost, people, so this has been quite a while now. It's been since mid-May I'd been off. There'd been a very difficult, traumatic incident, as you're all aware of. And, it's interesting because, you see, one is the incident, but then following that, there's been how a person generally connects with people, reflects. This has been my kind of journey. So following it, first of all, I just want to say that, honestly, the love has been so overwhelming. It's like you guys have melted my heart. Honestly, time and time again. Bigla diya yaar aap logon ne. You showed me that much love, honestly, and everybody is safe and sound. Lillahi alhamd, people, family is good. My daughters are well. We've well recuperated. I used the opportunity then to kind of just spend some good time, chill. I did kind of resort back to a lot of therapeutic measures that I was familiar with before from many years ago when I used to do counseling for people and stuff. But it's interesting revisiting some of them when it's about trauma, and especially some NLP, some CBT practices, using that. And you can actually see how powerful these things are. It's amazingly powerful. You know, when you measure it yourself, you're like, wow. So a lot of visual, kind of the VK dissociation, which I call dissociative replay, using things like that, the power of ritual, the power of dua, and just a lot of kind of positivity. People have shown so much love to the family as well. My daughters, they've been overwhelmed. Things have been fantastic, honestly. Moving on, I have to say, following it, there was so much positivity. It just reinforced, it concretized my faith in humanity, my faith itself, and my faith in humanity, the love. It also allowed me to really connect with people. Honestly, I have to say that the amount of people I've connected with in the last maybe 2 months, 2 to 3 months, I don't think I've connected with that many people in almost 2 years prior to that. And I'm being honest, and I don't mean just a fleeting connection like, salam, how are you doing? I mean, really, really connecting, and people visiting me. I visited people on the phone, all kinds. I mean, people who weren't necessarily my followers, or people who weren't even, maybe never even took a liking to the kind of stuff I used to say. But it's been so just heart melting and so warming to see that kind of love and compassion. And then when you connect with people, you start to realize what people's journeys, everybody's on their own journey. And I love that saying by Plato, that be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a difficult battle. And a lot of people then shared their own struggles with me. It's interesting that you get to see, and you don't expect it sometimes. You know, you think, oh no, that person's super fantastic. They've got their own problems going on. And it's also was a time that, like, kind of me time, if I can say that. Because on this journey, it's sometimes difficult to take out time for yourself. You take out a week, maybe 2 weeks as a one-off, but you don't really get to take out like a couple of months. And it is incredibly important sometimes to just do that for yourself. Take a bit of time out and just be you, but just reflect, enjoy, but also go into that kind of pensive evaluation of life, where I think that, look, where would I, where I evaluate my own plans, where do I want to be in 5 years from today? I also look back at my own journey, and I think that, right, okay, and this is something that I'll share with you guys as well, that you see, the journey has been very interesting, and I know a lot of people have been asking, and this is why I was really excited about doing this show as well, because Meaning with MALM, because what I want to do is I really do want to kind of give forward to people. I want to help people struggling in their ways. And part of this has been, I suppose, connecting with people, but also seeing the love from people. And then thinking, wow, all these people are struggling in their own ways. And many people are struggling with just life issues. Many people are struggling with the faith, in the sense that the faith's not adding value to their lives. It's impeding, or they feel it's impeding their lives. It's not, but they feel that. And I thought, wow. And I also sensed that so many people were becoming, it's not that they still have love for the Quran, immense love for the Quran, but they see the Quran as though it's just something on a shelf. And it talks about the stories of is that my private jet landing? But they don't see it having any connection with their daily lives. And I thought, that's not right. We need to do something about that. Let's help people connect with the Quran in a way. I'm not talking so much about tafsir. I'm not talking about doing a kind of elaborate tafsir of, well, this verse was revealed in this context, this word means this, and there was this incident happened, and these Sahaba radiallahu anhum were doing this. And I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, you see, one of the miraculous natures of the Quran is that it has what I call superpositions, that it can give you a meaning depending on wherever you're standing. You know, the more you ponder, the more it dawns on you with a new relevance. And just showing people that actually this can be a part of your life. Like, look at this. Wow. Like, did you think that that's actually speaking to you about what's going on right now? And so I thought, yeah. And I was sharing that with people, and it was really helping them. And then I thought, okay, let me share it, at a slightly larger scale. And then that I've been doing some videos, and I've been receiving so much love from people and how it actually helped them. Wallahi, like some messages I got from people, I didn't even know anything was going on in their lives. And they sent me, some friends. Maybe I only see them a few times a year, but I consider them good friends. And one of them, for example, was seriously ill, and I didn't even know. He was hospitalized. May Allah grant him a complete recovery. I mean, but the fact that that video of mine served as a huge boost to him, this is an example. It really made it all like, wow, okay, this is actually, let's help and give a bit forward. Scaffold people's faith for them along the way. Connect them with the kitab, with this rope, if we like, this lifeline. Or, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ, this lifeline from God. So that's the kind of the rationale behind meaning with MALM. Okay. I want to also give you guys a little, guide you through a little journey through where we are today. Because a lot of people have asked me, Mufti, what's happening with Monday nights with Mufti? And I feel that Monday Nights with Mufti has plateaued. To be honest, I feel it plateaued about 40 episodes ago, if not maybe 50 episodes ago. The questions just became repetitive, you see. And it does, obviously I would present some new tahqiq, and I'll still be always presenting new tahqiq research. But beyond that, it's fun, it has that kind of joke and kind of jokey entertainment kind of value to it. But it was really becoming quite redundant in terms of, not redundant entirely, but plateaued. It was just like stagnating. And yeah, so I feel that, but it's been wonderful. It's been amazing. But that was a chapter, and I think we need to, let's see this chapter, meaning with MALM, and how this goes. And what I want to do, there's going to be some new launches. So I'm going to speak a little later on about a kind of a monthly book club thing I want to do. Right, which can be just any kind of book, or I'll speak about that later on. But let me take you through a little journey, people. So, right, now, by the way, I'm really loving this chair. This is just, whoa, honestly, it gives you an epic feel. I just feel maybe I'm lacking the cigar, that's all. Right, so about maybe 2008 or something, I had began the journey. This whole thing of teaching had begun with the Muwatta. I began teaching the Muwatta. So many people don't know these kind of things. So I thought I'll share them in a few minutes. This kind of journey, and that was good. It was well, and during that I would discuss a lot of fiqh. And what happened with that was it then gave rise to me teaching some fiqh to people, because people got interested in fiqh. And I thought, okay, this is good. And around that time, maybe about 2009, I got an opportunity to, I don't know if, the drink's too light, so you can't really see it I'll have to put a dark drink. It says MALM's pint. Right. So I began doing a radio show on a local station, Unity FM, and it was called Friday Night Fiqh. I began doing that for a little while. It must have been probably about a year or something. Then that gave rise to a splinter show, which I stopped that for a little while, taught locally, and then I thought, yeah, I got the radio opportunity again. And this time I named it Monday Nights with Mufti. So Monday Nights with Mufti was originally a radio show. It was going probably about, I don't know, maybe about 10 years back. So I did that radio show for probably about a year and a half. I did that. And then that radio show gave interest to, and in that radio show I would discuss, towards the end we began this section called Relationships Unraveled, and we would speak about people kind of calling in about their relationships and stuff like this. But then that radio show came to an end. That was an interesting chapter, and then it ended, and then there was a new chapter. I began teaching Arabic. And I began some online, so it must have been about 2012. And in fact, I streamed some of these recently. And then the Arabic gave rise to an online fiqh thing. I taught the Risala. That probably went on for about 2 years or something. I taught that online. And then the fiqh, I stopped that online, and it gave rise to these local classes. And I started doing a bit of hadith studies. So we did that for a little while, and then we went back to fiqh. People said, right, let's do fiqh. So we did the Ashmawiyah, which is on YouTube, in I think 6 lectures. And then I did Qadi Iyad's Foundations of Islam. That must have been probably about a year, or probably a bit less actually, probably about half a year. And that was about 20 lectures. It's on YouTube. And then we got into history, gave rise to this whole history thing, Al-Andalus, and I did a whole series on it. This is probably about 2014 now. So I put that online. I actually arranged to run a tour of Al-Andalus, and I actually set it up, the whole thing. I had a team put together, and we flew over to Al-Andalus on a few occasions, which is southern Spain, and we spoke with this is a tangent, but we spoke with the whole, the Ministry of Tourism. I had some connects, and we connected, and some wonderful people. They really helped us, and we had these special offers, and we had the hotel setting and everything, and it was epic. But we actually never ended up running those tours. I launched it, but we had some issues, and we ended up not going ahead with it. So that's actually maybe in the future, huh? But that was then. So what happened after that was Facebook. I started to get more and more active in Facebook. So it's about 2015, 2016. I started to get more and more active. I stopped these lessons, and I started just for the next maybe 1 whole year, 2 years, I was just writing out answers. I started doing a lot of the hashtag From the Mind of a Mufti, Memoirs of a Mufti, these kind of hashtags, quick fix, as in FIQX. And I started to answer people's questions. So there's a lot of activity on Facebook at that time. And it gave rise to the Snap War, inspired by Imam Sohaib Webb from the States. I started getting really active on Snapchat, and I would always answer questions. And that probably went on for about a year. That was an interesting chapter because it brought a different kind of audience. And then I think maybe 2017, 2017, Facebook started its live streams. So I started some Q&A, and it went well. And I thought, you know what, let's bring back Monday Nights with Mufti as a Facebook show. So it used to be a radio show. Let's bring it back years later. It's probably been about 6 years at the time. So I started that, and that had now over 200 episodes. I think it had about 210 episodes. It was spanned about 4 years, people. It's a hell of a long time. And it gave rise to some other fantastic things as well, like Mind Trap. And it brought so many people to me as well, and connected them with me, that it's been fantastic. It's been brilliant. But I think, like all things, it plateaus. It reaches a stage where you think, right, okay, this is, I think I could do something a bit more meaningful now. And it's like a springboard to a new chapter. And that's what I see this as, a new chapter, inshallah. So those of you that are asking about Monday Nights with Mufti, that's the response. I think it's been a wonderful chapter. It's been amazing. It's been a blast, people. But, it's plateaued. So we're going to leave that chapter and have this as a new kind of experience. Let's see how this unfolds. So Mind Trap, I will resume Mind Trap soon as well. So probably maybe from next week. So Mind Trap still here. I think this show will replace. It won't replace, but it'll be the new thing. But it will then replace the meetups because this will be weekly. I'll be doing this. So inshallah. So in place of the meetups, I want something more productive. And what I was thinking of was a book club. Now people are going to think, nobody reads. So that's something I'm really excited about. I think the last day of every month, if we come back and discuss a book, and it doesn't have to be religious. And what I want to do it as people I want to live stream it, but I want people who are active participants reading, and we can live stream all of those active participants. So we'll either do it via Discord or via Zoom, but I'm thinking maybe Discord. I'll set up a server, and I was thinking the first book for this month, because we've got plenty of time, I'll start with, is that... Right, so this is called Money by Yuval Harari, and it's a very a quick read. It's probably about 130 pages, not a large size, as you can see. He is an excellent writer, so I think we're going to love discussing this. And it doesn't require religious expertise. You just read a book. It says, look, everyone always wants money because everyone else always wants money, which means you can exchange money for whatever you want. So I think we'll start the first book club with this at the end of this month, last day of August. We'll do that. And so people interested in that, you can let me know. I'll have you guys added to a server. We'll read and we'll discuss and get your thoughts and have a bit of a blast on that as well. So hopefully that's all of that. Okay. In terms of... was there anything else before right, those of you that were asking about the incident, yes, alhamdulillah, there was progress on that. The people who did that, the police did arrest them. Which alhamdulillah, I didn't expect it, but they did. So I know they informed me they've made multiple arrests, and then it's running its process. So the legal system, it could take, God knows, maybe a year or something. But they kind of, they have to gather all the evidences via phones and stuff. But yeah, that's good, alhamdulillah. And they haven't shared much information with me because they have to kind of keep a lid on it because they don't want, just in case people try to retaliate against them and stuff like this. So, and that's all the legal procedures. But I'm happy with that. I'm glad. But it's amazing because you see something so strange and horrid in a way, but how it also, the good that can come out of it for you as a person in spite of it is amazing. So let me share the link, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at Claire, you're doing it. Much love. I have to say, you guys on Patreon, honestly, you guys have been wonderful. I know the whole group, the server we've got, Mindscape, you guys honestly showered us with gifts. You've been showing us so much love. I have to, man lam yashkurillah, man lam yashkurin nas lam yashkurillah. Whoever doesn't thank people doesn't thank God. And I have to, Geo, honestly. And one thing I would like to tell you guys is, seriously, there have been certain people that in this experience, they have won my heart for life. Forget heart, they've won my soul. Honestly, I'm not joking. And they're people who, you wouldn't expect. I may not even expect. And some of them, I may not have even been close with before. But I've just been so, honestly, if I think of them, I don't want to kind of, I'll leave their reward with Allah. I don't want to kind of bring their names out and stuff and just embarrass them. But wallahi, if I think of them, du'as from my heart go out for them. That's how they've won me for life. I'll put it like that. And this is also a lesson that, you know, if you know people, that whatever they're going through in life, if it's something, try and be that person that can step in. And just, even if it's sometimes, you know, just to be helpful in whatever way. And it doesn't have to be a huge tragedy. It doesn't have to be. It could, for them, be a tragedy. You understand? But it's the time that you really, I mean, and let alone the reward it brings to you as a person, it's so rewarding. But you will have in that person a friend for life. Seriously, and these opportunities are all too easy to come by if we just look around us. Right, so Bismillah, folks. Yep, shukran. The family are safe. They've been safe. The kids have been epic. They've been their usual nuisances ever since. And alhamdulillah, things are wonderful, man. But stuff happens, you know, in life. Stuff happens, I guess. And that's how you have to see it. You have to see. And in fact, this is why I want to start with these verses today. Let's start, bi'idhnillah. I'm also getting used to this whole format that we're doing here. So do bear with me. Right, so I wanted to speak about, I've got Allahu Akbar. Look at that, people. 3 verses I'd like to bring to our attention. Some that definitely, maybe 3 of them, or at least 2 of them, you all know. Okay, from Surah Sharah, you've got Inna ma'al usri yusra. Surah 94, verse 6. Allah is saying, indeed, with difficulty comes ease. Okay, now everybody has heard about this verse. The second verse, Inna fatahna laka fatham mubina. Now, this is the first verse from Surah Fatah, which means like a victory. Okay. And the third verse you've got there, liman sha'a minkum an yataqaddam aw yata'akhkhar. Now, you may not be familiar with that verse, and that just means so whosoever wills can come, they can move forward or they can choose to remain behind. But let's go through these very briefly, and I want us to take some meaning from that. And that last verse is from Surah Mudaththir. Okay, so people, it doesn't matter whatever you are facing in life, because we will all be facing something. But here is a quick formula. I thought I'll begin this by sharing it with you guys in this first episode. And that is these 3 verses I've chosen, that Inna ma'al usri yusra. And Allah repeats it twice, that with difficulty comes ease. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. That there comes ease. Okay. Inna fatahna laka fatham mubina. We have given you a clear victory. A clear victory. And 3, liman sha'a minkum an yataqaddam. Whosoever wants, let him go forth. And whosoever wants, yata'akhkhar, let him remain behind. Okay, oh yata'akhkhar. Now, I've got a little formula. I'm going to share it with you. Okay. Whatever you're facing in life, tragedies may kind of descend on you with the full weight of gravity, people. Think of it like that, right? With this unbelievable motion. They bring your world to a standstill. Yeah. And they may be small, they may be huge. But this is 3 steps I thought I'll begin with by showing you a formula by which you can face these, and you can take this meaning from the Quran. Okay, but the formula I'd kind of put it in was because to get motion in the face of these kind of such, whatever they are, these crises, what else than to use a law from the laws of motion. So from Newton, FMA. This is how I've kind of got it. That when you face a difficulty, it is your focus, okay, your perspective. Okay, so inna ma'al usri yusra. This first verse, that you see this, how do you kind of zone in on that? Do you just let it kind of cripple you? Do you just kind of, oh my God, this is no, nothing, I can't, I'm helpless, or just self-pity, or just like lethargy, lethargy, or how do you, it's that what you have to do, you have to kind of almost lock in that focus, knowing that, look, just think back in life, it doesn't matter what has happened, there has always been ease. You have made it through it. You have what it takes. So it's that focus. And the second thing, moving to this verse, now everybody knows that first verse, inna ma'al usri yusra, but this second verse, inna fatahna laka fathan mubina, this relates to meaning. The meaning that you give to that situation. And this will change everything. Believe me when I tell you that. And look at this verse. Inna fatahna laka fathan mubin. We've given you a clear, abundant victory. Now, many people say this was Sulh al-Hudaybiyah with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when it wasn't. It was a loss, a compromise. People are like, oh my God, we hate what's going on. But Allah is saying it's a victory. And you're thinking, well, is it? But this comes back to what, you see, you are just seeing, you see, it's like I'm seeing this line. I'm not even seeing the page, let alone the chapter, let alone the book. You understand? So here, this verse is so incredible in the sense that people felt like, even in its origin, if we take it to Sulh al-Hudaybiyah, many people felt that this was a loss. But it was such a victory that it was going to redefine not only it was going to not only the success of the believers, but the course of Islam and by extension human civilization and history. It all changes by Fatu Makkah, but they couldn't see it at that point. You see, they see this compromise. So it's the meaning that you give, this meaning. So you think, right, yeah, this has happened. Okay, but actually there could be a positivity in this. Actually, this, what about this? I never thought about it. Actually, I could see this as an opportunity to, take time to reflect on this or work. Some people, I know I had a lot of messages in the last few months, especially now. I think with the lockdown over, companies have started to hire again. But there were a lot of people that were made redundant, and this was worrying people naturally. But this is an example. People are thinking, oh my God, this is it. But maybe they've been strong-armed into a greater opportunity. It's the meaning that you associate with it. If you think, yeah, I can't do it, I'm a loser, I'm a this, I'm a that, then that's who you are. But if you think, no, I actually, ya salam, I can do this, then that's who you are. And this last verse, that liman sha'a minkum an yataqaddam wa yata'akhkhar. See, it's so amazing when you think of it, because you see, sometimes to get people to have an impetus to do something, you can't just keep telling them. You have to leave it to them. Oh, the Quran says, if you want, progress. If you want, don't. Wow. And then it kind of hits you that you think, well, yeah, actually, it's right. I should actually, because some people, you see, many of us, and I can be like this as well, and many of us, when we're being told to do some, told, we don't want to do it sometimes. It's that nafs. nafsun abiyya. We're like, and it's natural, it's human. No, somebody says, get up, do this, or you should get off your lazy behind and go do this and go. But then somebody says, well, you know what? You want to do it. Don't want to do it, don't do it. لمن شاء منكم يتقدم أو يتأخر. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait, let me catch up. So this last thing, this A is for action, that you need a plan. You need to plan something. And I don't mean you need to have a meticulous super plan, but take at least those steps in front of you, and you'll see a path unfold. But we have to have them. We have to take those steps, and stuff happens. There's an amazing poem. People ask you, and everybody's going through their own thing. Ahmed Faraz, epic poet, and he says, Udasiyon are like the griefs. You see, problem. Udasiyon ka sabab kya kehna bajuz iske, ye zindagi hai. Pareshaniyan to hoti hain. He says that, what can I say about the causes of grief except ye zindagi hai, pareshaniyan to hoti hain. This is life. There will always be problems. So yeah, and I think this is a great way to be able to reflect on at least these 3 verses. You have your focus, you give it the meaning and action. FMA, okay? So that's that kind of Newtonian second law of dynamics, but second law of motion, but you can use it in this way to look at the focus, the meaning and actions, and these 3 verses. Inshallah, I hope that's of some help. I'm going to share the link out. If people want to, let me share that out, people. All right, so now I've put that out there. If you want to click on it, you can come right through. I'll bring you live. And let's take a look at what's going on. So let me read some of your comments. Somebody said, did the perpetrators get caught? They did. Or I know many of them did. I don't know. The police didn't give me the exact number, except they said multiple arrests have been made. And they said they're working their angle and investigation, and it'll take its natural course. They don't want to share any details with me beyond that at this stage, for everyone, for legal purposes. And they have to, because this incident really, and I have to say that's really the love of people, that it riled up so many people, that naturally it's for the safety of the perpetrators that they don't want to share it. And fair enough, right, so 7 ants to escape to victory. I've got no idea what that means, but it sounds good. I was a student of yours from Al-Hijra school. All right, you're doing it, people. Right, I'm taking a look at, so the questions are anchored into the theme, which is about challenges that you're facing, and it may be about any area of faith or in life in general. I have shared these 3 verses, I've spoken about them, and I guess the method is that, Allah, look at that. I like the way this is. Here it is, people. How can the Quran add meaning? You're doing it to your daily lives. I like it. I like the way this is working. I gotta say, this platform is much more useful than I considered. Why aren't you coming to Christ? Wow. You see, now that is the concern. Alika, you see, it's your concern that gets me. Wow, I love the concern. And that's because we are Christ himself led to God. And inshallah, we are all in that sense connected and with God. So I'm already there, but I appreciate your concern. Right, now, what else? What questions? Mufti, don't forget Facebook. Oh, right. I can see the Facebook comments here on this platform. So that's all good. Right. There you go. Look at that. I like it. I like it. Fazila ji, shukran. May Allah keep you smiling. To be honest, I wouldn't want to give the perpetrators a free trip to the International Space Station that is reserved for the privileged. Like Jeff Bezos. Right, so what else is going on? Somebody saying they like the graphic designs. Yep. Shukran. These are, I have to say, much love to the designers out there. You guys are doing it. Right, let's bring some people on. We've got, who have we got here? We've got Wasim Hussein. Wasim Hussein. All right. He's gone off. Cool. Why this one disappear, man? Why you disappear? We've got Ahmed Shuaib. Ahmed Shuaib, the good old Ahmed. Here he is. Let me bring him, add him to the live stream, people. Allahu Akbar. Ahmed Shuaib. Wa alaikum assalam. How are you keeping?
I'm great, Mufti. How are you doing?
I'm good. Allah, look at that. So, what's going on, man? Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban, first and foremost.
I just recently came back from Pakistan about, a week ago. So I was hotel quarantining. I just came back home yesterday, alhamdulillah.
Okay, wow, from Pakistan?
Yeah.
So are you not in the, do you not have to stay 10 days in a hotel, in one of those?
Yeah, we just spent our 10 days in jail. We just came yesterday.
Chalo, that's why not, huh? But I have to ask, this is a random question, but about the hotels, are they decent? Because I've read a lot of people saying that they're only like these kind of 3-star hotels. And
it's very, very...
Look at me and vanity. Yeah, vanity kahan se aa jati hai? Where does this vanity come from? Toba, the nuts.
Well, the one we went to, basically, we went to Pakistan because my nanu, unfortunately, she passed away. But
inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. May Allah grant the... Do you say your nanu or your nani?
Yeah, nanu. Yeah.
Nanu, your grandfather. Okay, may Allah grant him.
Mother, we call her nanu, like pyar se nanu kehte hain.
Acha. May Allah grant her an elevated maqam in Jannah. Ameen.
Yeah, so anyway, it was me, my mother, and my sister, right? So they gave us a hotel room. It was supposed to be a family room, but it was basically like a small bedroom, and they put 2 double beds in it. So it's okay if you're, coming as a vacation as a family, like a vacation, you're only going to sleep there. But we had to stay there for 10 days, so it was not very good.
I see. I can imagine. Okay, sure. May Allah make things easy. So talk to us. Do you have any thoughts, any questions, would you like to share, or I don't know, is there, what do you feel about these verses and how they can add meaning?
Yeah, so, the verses are pretty clear. But I mean, for people like me, we're not that emotional or something like that. It's easy to understand that, I'll just use the anecdote from my life that my nanu passed away. Okay, it was her time. Allah called her. It's fine. But for someone like my auntie, so her
very
daughter,
stoic.
Right? Yeah, I guess. But for someone like my auntie, right? She's her daughter. So it's been 40 days now, and she still says that she, cries and she gets angry that why can't I do anything about this? So how do you think, how can we be a source of, guidance towards someone who feels that, they feel angry that why did this happen? Why didn't Allah cure her or something like that?
Yeah, no, that's such an important question, wallahi. And so many people are probably going through this in one way or another, or will at some point face this very same tragedy of losing a loved one. And it's something which renders the person absolutely helpless. Let me tell you something, Ahmed, and people as well, that people don't understand sometimes. Psychology teaches us how trauma is generated in the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Trauma is generated by being rendered helpless in a situation. So if a situation befalls you that is shocking or saddening, or that is it carries grief, but in that situation you mentally are rendered helpless, like there's nothing in that moment you can do to change that. This generates trauma in the brain, and especially in adults. Okay, so in children there's trauma as well, but trauma manifests itself differently in children. It usually manifests in things like attention deficit orders and stuff like this, but in grown-ups it will manifest in anxiety, panic attacks, in these kind of what people see as trauma, this kind of PTSD. So losing a loved one where you are utterly incapable. And I remember watching not an interview, but also it was a podcast with Mike Tyson in it, and he was speaking about, somebody said to him, look, oh, you're the greatest, and he said, look, stop it, I'm not. And they said, come on, Mike, you're the greatest, the GOAT, greatest of all time. And he goes, look, I love where, you're coming from a place of love, I get that, but, please. And the guy says it again, he goes, no, you are. And then Mike Tyson just says to him, he says, look, I couldn't even save my own son from dying. Like, what are you on about, man? Like, how am I the great? And, in that moment, you could see the kind of trauma in his eyes when he said that, because this is what it does. And I would say that, look, we can look back at that meaning that we said, that there are at times, like even the loss of a loved one. Yes, we can't, we can't do anything about it. We don't give life and death. And Allah, if somebody's gone, they've gone. But what in this case, and it can be looked slightly differently for different cases. In this case, you see, one could see it as a kind of, let's celebrate the life the person had, because this person has lived a full life. She was your grandmother, that she in her life has given, she's had a family with all these people that are loving, that have grown up with such kind of understandings that they value this. This is in many ways as a consequence of her. Like, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her.
Yeah. So
she has contributed to you, and throughout her life, like, I don't know the things how she would have lived, how she would have been an icon maybe for resilience. Maybe she had, some kind of positivity about her always. Maybe she always made people smile. Maybe she always, she was always there on Eid doing something. Maybe it's how we remember people and the meaning that they've had in life. So, yeah, it is utterly traumatic that not being able to do anything, but we could see it as that, subhanAllah, look, kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut. Death is a certainty, but at least this person lived a fulfilling life, that they lived, that they achieved, alhamdulillah, that they enjoyed, they laughed, they loved, they lived, and you could cherish that, and you could see, and you see, the moment you start thinking like that, it starts to change. It's not about sad, it's all of a sudden about like, wow, actually, you know what, they lived, and let me also, I don't know what's going on in your personal lives. Like, it could be a person could think, well, you know what, let me do something as well, that in a way make that person proud. You could even, if you want to do something charitable, because this situation, that person has motivated you to do something charitable, and that also benefits in many ways. This is because you are a consequence of that person. You see, you are only here because of that person, and maybe their loss has motivated you to do something, humanitarian. You felt, you know what, they always loved, orphans. They always loved helping. I'm going to now go and, this is on her. Like, this is on behalf of her. I'm doing this. I'm going to go to an orphanage. I'm going to go to, in Pakistan, you have a lot of these things. And so I'm going to do something, or maybe you're not in a position, the family ain't in a position, maybe they are, but it doesn't have to be so grandiose. But what I'm trying to say is you've also done something positive, which has directly been motivated from her existence and now the departure of her existence. But yeah, I feel it does come back to that, inna fatahna laka fatham mubina, that this incident, it did serve to the Muslims as a trauma, almost part of it, because the Yom Abu Jundal being dragged by his feet, and nobody could do anything, and him being beaten in front of the Muslims, and Muslims were utterly, even though they had many Muslims there, but nobody could even step in and stop them, because that was the treaty. And it's trauma, because being rendered helpless is traumatic. And this is why decades later, over a decade later, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anh says, if I've ever felt so traumatized, it was on that day, because I couldn't help. And I was like, I want to help, but I can't. So yeah, I hope, inshallah, may these words carry some meaning, inshallah. But cool. Ahmed, shukran. I think that's... And do express my deepest condolences as well to the family. May Allah make it easy for all of, especially you mentioned your aunt and other people who have been hit hard by. Ameen.
Yeah.
Okay, so cool. Well,
I was just gonna say, you said the mind trap was gonna continue, so I did try and get the Gandhi Center to have a mind trap with you. Gandhi Sahab himself said that he perhaps couldn't, but Hassan Ilyas Sahab said that he was in contact with you. And
he is. I've been sending him just some general WhatsApps. He's been, WhatsApping me as well. They're amazing people doing a lot of work. And Gandhi Sahab is quite old as well now, and I do worry as well, because just as in concern, not worry.
Yeah, he had another heart surgery recently, so that went successfully, alhamdulillah. But yeah.
Sure. Okay, Ahmed, I'll leave you to it. Much love. Take care, man. Stay blessed. Assalamu alaikum. All right, people, we've got the Ahmed Shu'aib. All right. Let me bring on here. We've got, who have we got here? Jawad Sahab, people. All right, let's. Assalamu alaikum.
How are you?
Allahu Akbar. I'm good, Jawad. Imam Jawad. Gustachi maaf, yaar. Did I just call you Jawad? I thought, which Jawad is this? I couldn't see him. This is Imam Jawad.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
How are you keeping, Jawad?
Alhamdulillah. How are you?
I'm good, lillahi alhamd. I'm good.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, so I was thinking of the ayah that you were talking about, and I was thinking about the class that I was just holding recently for some youth who were feeling hopeless, right? And
Allahu Akbar. See that Imam Jawad just dropped in that he holds classes for you. You're doing it, Imam Jawad. You're doing it. No.
So there's the ayah in Surah Al-Kahf that I would add on to sort of adding hope.
Please yeah.
To people's life. It's the ayah of Surah Al-Kahf that goes, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم فمن كان يرجو لقاء ربه فليعمل عملا صالحا. And so and what basically Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the three stages that I sort of broke it down in my class was, the first part was liqa'a rabbihi, which is basically to look forward to something. It's to set a destination, right? It's to set a goal. It's that you there's something to look forward to in the future. And then the second stage is the irju, which is to have hope and expectancy for that goal to be accomplished, right? It's I remember I was listening to Qari Wissam Sharif. You may have heard of him.
Yeah, Wissam. No, I love Wissam. Wissam is such a positive guy, man.
Yes.
He's so amazing, and I feel that he's so sometimes not valued enough, because I've met him on a couple of occasions. He's
He's
always so
amazing.
smiling, man. And I feel
He's
that,
amazing.
is that like, I don't know, some of the American imams do have that. They're always positive, mashallah.
And he's very energetic about the
Yeah,
Quran.
that's what I mean. Like, he's very, he's actually energetic as well. Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So I was listening to him once, and he was talking in one of his khutbahs. I believe it was a khutbah. He was talking about forgiveness, and he talked about how once you ask for forgiveness, you shouldn't think about whether it was accepted or not, because it is accepted. And he talks about
Yeah.
like how it could even come under like it's wrong to actually think about whether it was accepted or not. Those are thoughts from shaitan.
The Tawbah are we talking
The
about, or the
Toba,
action?
yes. Yeah, the Toba. And so the connection that I was
Yeah.
making from that to here is the
Yeah.
urju, which is to have an expectation that that goal that you set in step 1 is
Yeah.
now in step 2, when you're having that meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment, is to have that hope that it's, you know, everything you worked for, you're going to be rewarded for it. As long as, inshallah ta'ala,
So
that
to
you
have basically that kind of be full of hope, really, just when you're thinking about God, not to be kind of, oh my God, doom and gloom,
Yes,
kind
and
of,
exactly
yeah.
how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that His mercy encompasses all. Right? He
So,
says in the ayah of the Quran that His
yeah.
mercy encompasses all. And I mean, even throughout the Quran, He starts 113 chapters with mentioning Rahma and Rahim, right? And
I think we so forget this. We, you know, unfortunately, to some people, religion has become a bit doom and gloom, and it never is like that. But it's just being portrayed like that, unfortunately. Yeah.
And then the last part that I was telling my class was in the ayah where it goes فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا. It's in order to have that meeting of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it will need action. That
Of course, of course.
you take that action, that after you've planned, now you take that action.
Have a strategy.
And have a
Exactly.
strategy.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent. You know what, Imam Sab, whilst we've got you online, what do you think about here's a question, since it's about the Quran, although this is a bit more speaking about the ontological kind of nature of the Quran and about ahkam, but I suppose just in the spirit of the Quran and this, that Mufti Hisham Malik has asked, what is the wisdom in removing the stoning and breastfeeding verses from the Mus'haf whose rulings still apply, but keeping all the abrogated verses in the Quran whose rulings no longer apply? Now, right, so I'd like us, if since you're here, I mean, I'll say a few words on it, but I want to kind of just pick your thoughts as well, since I've got you here and somebody's just asked this question. You see, to me, the way now, first of all, these verses were never a part of the Quran that the person is referring to. They're referring to things like the stoning verses. They're referring to things like, there are breastfeeding verses in the Quran about, you know, hawlaini kamilain, liman arada an yutimma ar-rada'a, but they're not referring to those. They're referring to the alleged verses that are not in the Quran, but some people had claimed. So we have some reports by some companions, or some people from some companions. So some people saying from some companions that, that this, I heard this companion say that, didn't this verse used to also be in the Quran? Now, you see, those verses were never in the Quran, and you'll get some other incidents as well. Like some companions will say such and such surah used to be much longer than all the surahs, and today it isn't. And so these things you have to understand that, look, this is just a perception that some people, and it's very natural that people may have. You know, it's occurred. Look, it's even happened to me once, you know, and I've done hifz of the Quran. I remember actually, what was it? It was probably about a year ago or something. I was looking up a particular thing about the hearts and I thought, no, I'm pretty sure there's a verse in the Quran that speaks about something like this. And I remember looking at, and it was in my head that, no, I'm sure there is a verse that says, but then there wasn't. It was actually what I was referring to was this hadith thing. And even though that doesn't happen, I'm just giving an example from our own lives, how it could happen. I'm not saying we're as great as these people, the Sahaba, but what I'm trying to say is even if you memorize the whole Quran and it can happen that people at times, or somebody hearing it from them, could think, well, didn't this person say that was also in the Quran? And somebody could, they could assume that maybe that also used to be in the Quran. Some companions used to read the Dua al-Qunut as though it was a surah. They used to think Dua al-Qunut was, Allahumma inna nasta'inuka, because they used to think that this was, in the Quran, because it has that rhythm to it.
They even used to write their own notes in some of the
excellent. Tell us that.
So it's in some of the hadith, for example, it says how somebody would refer to somebody else's version. So they would say, wasn't it in so and so's version, this
in their mushaf?
In their mushaf. And you can find hadith, there's numerous hadith like that where it refers like, wasn't this in so and so's mushaf? Because if you study the history, you would know that different people had the different Sahaba had their different mushafs, like their own personalized. Like for example, in one of them it says La Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim when it's referring to Surah At-Tawbah. Like in one of the manuscripts, I believe there's a La there, and then it says Bismillah. It basically referring
to in the margin. It said La taqul.
Yeah, La taqul. Thank you. Yes, La taqul, yes. Thanks for the correction. I was just trying to go.
No, it's not correction, just an addition. How can I? कहाँ आपको correct कर सकते हैं? कहाँ हमारी ये मजाल कहाँ है?
So yeah, it said La taqul, for example. So we see all these examples throughout where people thought that certain verses, and the same thing happened with, for example, qira'at, right? And that's the way I also that's the way I also view, for example, the different madahib, right? If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to bring ease into our life, could come up with the different qira'at, then why can't he come up with different applications for what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam applied? And sometimes people don't reflect on that enough, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And these things are there for our ease. So just to come back to the original question that the person was asking, I'm pretty sure you covered most of it, but I think that's basically to encompass it all into one answer. It would be
Imam Saab.
it would be that we have enough evidence to prove that there were people recalling different things, and people had different mushaf, and that's what makes the Quran. That's how we know that we have the correct Quran, not only because Allah has affirmed it in the Quran itself, but also because they were there to make sure along the way that each other,
and it's nothing to worry about. Yeah,
they were there as a group to make sure that none of those mistakes came generation to generation.
Shukran.
So that should in fact be consolidation for us if you are having doubts, that all of them were there as a group together on that journey from the Prophet ﷺ to make sure that we get the credit.
I don't think it necessarily has to be about doubts, although somebody could be having doubts. I think it's a legitimate question. But that's, in summary, that's what it is. So I hope that makes sense. Imam Jawad, shukran. See, a lot of love and support coming there. Lee, you're doing it. Right, so, okay, take care. Remember us in your du'as.
Inshallah.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Right, so what is going on, people? What is going on? I have to, what I'll be doing soon is having this whole thing digitalized much better, so it just works out. Right, so let me bring up, who do we have here? Khalid bin Walid, Harambe on demand. Let's take a question actually whilst we're waiting that somebody had already submitted. So we'll take some prior questions as well. Then we'll come to, I'll share the link again, just so everybody's got that. Mufti should read manga. Is that the cartoon? Is that what manga cartoons? Or am I completely Mufti interviewing himself? To be quite frank, well said, frankly said, right there. So, right here is a question. Which one should we take? People's man, what is going on? So, okay, so Hamza, should we take this one? It's quite simpler to other people too. Right, okay, let's take this one. I think this should be quite simple. Hamza Faruqi. This was submitted on YouTube that some days it's difficult to roll out of bed. So don't roll out then. Somersault out, yaar. Somersault. Ab somersault mara karo, yaar. This rolling out is a bit out of fashion nowadays. I'm joking. Some days it's difficult to roll out of bed and tackle the world, let alone wudu and salah. What a question, people. What a question. So, some days it's difficult getting out of bed. Point 1. Point 2, tackling the world. And then point 3, let alone worship. You see, that's very interesting because that happens to everyone. There isn't a single soul except they will be hit with that on some days. It's hit and miss, okay? Some days you're just having a bad day. But try not to, what I would say, first of all, this is really important. I can't emphasize this enough, honestly. I feel that when it comes to these things, do not put this down as this is something I personally practice, okay? I don't say to myself ever, you know what, this is a bad day. I refuse, wallahi, to say to myself mentally that this is a bad day. Even if bad things are happening to me on that day. Like, I don't like it because I feel once you do that, you kind of parameterize it within your brain as though this is a bad day. And now things are just going bad. So, yes, you might be stressed, but don't let your mind get locked into this is a bad day. Or, God forbid, some people think this is a cursed day. Qat'an. That would be, honestly, that you are in superstition if you do that. Do not do that. Do not even characterize it by this is a bad day. Just think, okay, I'm having, you know what? Okay, I've been exhausted today. A lot's happened today. I've been like, okay, you might think in yourself, damn, all this is going on. But don't worry. Tomorrow's a brand new day. You will, you'll get up, fresh eyes, you'll get back to the drawing board, you'll do whatever it is that you are meant to be doing that is kind of weighing down on you. And we have those days that we get kind of weighed down on, but it's natural. But don't let it characterize your state of mind. The other thing is about facing the world. What I would say is one step at a time. Think about it, and we all do this. We all have things that are outstanding. I think, damn, I got to deal with that. I got to deal with this. Oh, God damn, I haven't still made that payment, and I haven't still written back to that email, and I haven't still, oh my God, I've still got that application going on, and oh my God, I've got a deadline coming up, and oh my God, I've got to prep for this, and we've got this event going on. And you see, if you think of it like that, you're going to drown. Don't think of it like that. Just take one piece, try to begin with the one that is absolutely urgent, as in time sensitive. Begin with that, just knock it on the head. Because what we tend to do is when we have a lot of, let's say we've got a list of 10 things. We all want victories. We all want to kind of tick things off the list. So what we might do is begin with the least urgent, the least important, but at least it's a mini victory. So I might think, you know what, right, I've got all of these things, and I think, let me check my emails, and or I think to myself, you know what, let me clean my desk. And don't get me wrong, a clean desk is really helpful sometimes to get you into the mood of like focusing. But let's say it could be something else. You could think, you know what, yeah, let me go and clean that room. Or, yeah, wasn't I supposed to also drop something off to someone? Let me do that instead. But those things weren't time sensitive. So even though you've ticked a few things off the list, but these were not urgent. So the stress keeps piling up, it keeps accumulating. Knock off one of the stress, the time sensitive factors. Do them. Just take one, just one, and deal with it. You will see yourself that you start to feel quite relieved. That, wow, okay. So that's what I would say, okay. And this thing about wudu and salah, look, I get it. We all have our days. If people have missed their salah, if they've done things, just pray when you can. You know, you've missed it. Okay, now you pray. Okay, it's your personal bond with God. You do it. But one way to look at this is people begin, because you said getting out of bed, people begin their day with a ritual. Today, society has caught up with this. You know, people wake up and they do mindfulness. Even for 60 seconds, they just, what am I grateful for? They do this because this is the power of ritual. Now, we've had this all along. Just think about it. We've always had this. But because it's, you know, they say, Gar ki murgi dal barabar. You know, there's a saying in Urdu that even if it's chicken at home, it's just like eating dal, because anything at home is never valued because you've always got it. So, because we've always had salah and ritual, to us it's like just a drag. Oh, I've got to do this. But no, think of it as the ritual that I'm going to gather my, you know, this is where I gather myself. And even wudu, have you thought about it? One way to look at it is, you know, people say like the hadith about when a person washes, you wash your face, and it says the khataya, and that can mean people translate it as sins and things, but one way to look at it is the negativities. They come off. You see, like you wash your face, the negativity from there comes out. You wash your arms, negativity flows out. Your feet, and these are actually, I mean, these things actually relax and bring a person into focus if you do it like that. You know, and then you get into prayer, and I personally, I do something where I will always, as I begin with the Maliki, as soon as we begin, we just go straight to Fatiha. So before I begin the Fatiha, I will always just take a deep breath and then take that, and that just gathers me, and then begin. And then I take a second one after the Ameen, because according to some methods, you're meant to have a pause, a sakta. So I'll just... And you'll be surprised just that, how it gathers you. But that's my thoughts, I hope. But see, you do have the opportunity to see each day, if you change that perspective as something fresh to seize your rizq. You do have that. It's your story, man. You know what I'm saying? It's your life. How you choose to write it is how it will be read. I hope that helps. Right, let's get... we've got... Somebody said, Silver Scorpio, wudu is the hardest part. This will probably... Yeah, and I get that. But one way of looking at wudu is this negativity thing that you see. As you do it, you remove negativity. It's that mindfulness. Try it. You know what? Just try it for one day. See how that feels. Does it change anything? Let me know. Message me and let me know. Let's bring on a Azmat, your attitude to all your actions is absolutely key. 100%. 100%. It is all your attitude towards something. Right, we've got Khalid bin Walid. Khalid bin Walid.
Assalamu
alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam, Khalid.
I just want to say a quick announcement. I love your videos that they come from a place of love and compassion, but also understanding with logic. So yeah, I remember the first video was I've recently started searching up things, because according to the Sunnah, it's Sunnah to look for knowledge, so to not follow things blindly. And two beautiful things I found out. I remember your first video was on birthdays, and then I researched why don't they like birthdays? I said, okay, the pagan things, okay. And I personally think they are halal, but if you don't make them a big deal, don't be narcissistic. Like my last birthday, and this was just by coincidence, I just had a dinner and one gift, like we didn't sing. Can
I just slightly interrupt you, Khalid, for a moment? Khalid, sorry, where are you from? I'm just trying to place the accent.
I'm from Manchester. I'm half
Manchester.
I'm half Nigerian and half Yemeni, but culturally I grew up around my grandparents who are Nigerian. So I practice my Yemeni heritage, but I don't get along with them, my Yemeni side, because unfortunately they are racist and I'm half black, and they make comments, but I still respect them as my family. Because another thing, recently I've had a struggle.
Sure. May Allah make your struggle easy, Ameen, and may you open the hearts of your family.
I'm gonna let me just finish this and I'll get onto the important part. So I've had a struggle in life because I found out cutting ties off with your parents is a higher chance of you getting in hell. So I've learned to be more grateful and tolerant of what I have, and how we can I'll put the Quran and verses into our lives is to be grateful. So like you said, if you're having a bad day, I think we're spoiled in today's generation. They're complaining about X, Y, and Z. Generation Z, I call them, like in a video game.
Gen Z.
Yeah, Gen Z.
Gen Z.
Like my grandmother.
How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, I'm 22, but I'm quite mature from my age, because I grew up around my grandparents, so I'm very mature. I don't do things like a 22-year-old would do. I've never done X, Y, Z. As I was saying, so how we can incorporate the Quran into our lives is, well, like I said, be grateful. Like my grandmother used to say, eat your food. They're starving children in Africa. So when we have a bad day, let's say, oh, this is broken and I can't afford a new one, well, maybe save your money and take care of, let's say, your phone next time, or get a phone case, prepare yourself. And if bad things happen, I just laugh and I go, I say, Jazakallah, thank you, Allah, you're testing me today. I just laugh. But as you said,
I love that spirit. I love you see, it's amazing that the Prophet said in a hadith, you see, somebody was trying to glorify like certain hard times, like they were trying to glorify battles and things, as in not glorify the epics of battle, but as in, why do we go to, there should be a battle, like this. And the Prophet kind of reprimanded them and said, look, what, like we don't never seek, he said, never seek hardships or trials or tests, but if they befall you, fathbutu, then have that face, as in don't crumble, but it's like how you said, with that spirit, you just rise to it, that's all. And I think that's wonderful, especially you being so young, but having such a powerful spirit in the face of test. Alhamdulillah.
As you said in battle, I'm training to be a professional fighter, but
wow, okay.
Yeah, so okay, but it runs in the family. But when I fight, I keep myself calm and I control, and I'm the politest person in the gym. I say thank you to my coach and thank you to my sparring partners afterwards. So yeah,
and that's what speaks volumes, doesn't it? If you think about it, a person's this kind of a gentle, loving character, although, and it's interesting because you're saying in the context of fighting, which is actually a tough, hard sport, but you've got at the same time this combination of yet having this gentle, kind manners and etiquettes, but combine, and that you can just generally you can imagine, wow, I'm sure that was that would have such an impact on people, even if they don't admit it, but it will, I'm sure.
You know, I came from a lot of adversities. You know, I'm mixed race and I'm also autistic, but
okay.
But what it does, my autism, I don't see it really as a disability. I see it as more of a test of me thinking a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm more emotional, but I can bottle it up, my feelings.
Yeah.
See, the reason why I bottle my feelings up is that I try not to complain, because let's say if I complain about something and it's going to hurt someone else or bother them someone else, then I'm like, well, I'm not, because I'm not going to ask for attention. But another thing Islam, what I love about it is making us grateful. And another recent thing, the problem with our Islamic community today, and you might agree with this, is we mix our culture with our religion. But the Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him, he said we must separate. You know, we separated culture from
of course. So and you know, this comes I was going to say, this comes right back to even the first thing you're saying about things like birthdays or celebrating birthdays, and I think in many ways we could even tie that into the verse that I'd said at the beginning about liman sha'a minkum yataqaddam wa yata'akhkhar, that whosoever wants, let them move forward or remain behind. That you see, these things, we have to understand that Islam is incredibly colorfully diverse, and it has a huge diversity in it, and people, and that is an amazing blessing of Islam. So you see, you said in the beginning that, look, some people feel it's not haram. Some people feel it's haram, and you personally don't feel it's haram. I don't feel it's haram either. And I think this is the thing that people miss here, that you see, your Islam, about you understanding something, believing something, is for you as a person. That you see, if I felt something is haram, then I won't do it. Let's say I feel that, you know what, I think, I don't know, I think celebrating birthdays is haram. Let's say somebody feels that, then I won't do it. But it's not about imposing on others. Because it's not about me saying, I know, let me go around and make sure nobody else celebrates birth. Because it's about me. My faith is for me. I think, you know, this is haram, I'm not going to do it. So you might think, well, I don't believe it's haram based on X, Y, and Z.
For example, your hair, I believe that you have to have your hair even. But I'm like, I'm not going to tell you that, because me cursing you out is not going to change the way you style your hair.
Exactly. And because, you see, this is such an important point, and I feel that people miss this so much. See, people want to speak about, people should speak about their faith if they're passionate about it. You know, people want to speak about it, that's brilliant. People want to speak about the Quran, that's amazing. Yeah. The faith and the Quran, now you want to speak about these things to people, go for it. However, there's just a caveat to that. Okay, the overwhelming amount of the Quran, it's about 6,200 plus verses of the Quran. Yes. The overwhelming majority of the verses of the Quran are just to do with reminders or stories or statements, or the verses to do with Sharia and Ahkam.
The Hadith
are not the hadith, but the verses to do with rules and laws within Islam are between 150 to 500. There's a difference of opinion between people. Okay. So the maximum they say is the 500 verses. So people like Muqatil ibn Sulaiman, Al-Ghazali, Fakhruddin al-Razi, Ibn Juzay, all these people, that's what they say, 500. Yeah. So, and I'm not saying you can't take rulings from any verses of the Quran, you can, but I mean specific verses addressing ahkam. So these verses are addressing just ruling, like the ruling for stealing, the ruling for this, the ruling for that. You see, this is not what the Quran, for the most part, is talking about. It's talking about your connection with God and how you feel. That's amazing. So if people want to go out there and they want to share it with people, so what to share is that, you know, I've had faith in my life. It's made my life wonderful. You know, like it's amazing. It's given, like how you said, look, it's given me positive spirits. If there's a difficulty, I think, this is just a chapter that Allah is testing me with. I can't wait for the next. Things will get so much better, and Allah, inna ma'al usri yusra, difficulty. Or I think, look how God made the cosmos. I see the signs of God in everything. These are the things for da'wah, for preaching, for taking to the other. Sharia and ahkam are not. So these are reserved only for the ulama, and that too only in a teaching capacity. Like a person holds a class, he teaches. Or therefore your personal. So for example, you might think, I read this in a hadith that you can't trim hairs, you can't have a certain hairstyle.
Yes.
You read that, now you may have learnt it from a teacher, and that's, the teaching you're going with. That's your personal faith. It is only applied by you on you.
Yes.
Now, that is not for you to preach to anyone. What you can do is you can say as a person that, look, you can mention it, like, I heard this person said this to me, but you can't teach it or preach it. It's a bit like medical. Like, think of it like, imagine your doctor said to you, I think, you've got this headache, this, you know what, you should take ibuprofen and you should take this. Now, you could say to your friend, in a friendly capacity, he's also going through something similar. He said, hey, my doctor told me you should take this. Maybe you should try it. But you are not allowed to preach medicine. In fact, there would be legal ramifications if you try to, because you're not trained, and you don't have that license. Similarly in Islam, and I feel that there's a slight, this is where things get sometimes all turbulent, is people, and I think they're coming from a place of love for the faith, and that's amazing, that they love the faith and they want to take it to others. But
not
instead of taking
like that though, but there are, alhamdulillah, the majority is, but yeah.
Yeah, so instead of taking the faith, they start wanting to take the sharia and the ahkam. Like, this is haram and this is halal. No. Take the faith of God to people, how it's made your life amazing. Take that. Right? So, and the ahkam, let people go to a class and learn. You understand? So I think that's it's just something it occurred to me when you said that. I thought it's worth sharing.
Yeah,
Khalid,
sure. Another thing I want to quickly add is I recently found out, but because of my Arabic culture, they still do this. But apparently, it's a sunnah to let a child, first the guest and then a child eat first. But unfortunately, majority of Arab culture and countries, the adults should eat first. But for you, and this is my view, but for you to do something that the Prophet didn't say that it's wrong, I think this is kufr or very, very bad. So we must not mix our culture with our religion.
Yeah, of course, and that happens so often. But that, you see, the cultural things are once again people trying to speak ahkam, because you'll find that culture is usually to do with do's and don'ts. The do's and don'ts are not really what you should be taking to people. You should be taking how fantastic the religion, the faith, the connection between you and God. And if you struggle to talk about how great the connection with God is, then that's fine. Work on it. It's a journey for all of us. We're all working on that connection.
Benefits of doing good things. So, for example, if I was to speak with you about your hair, I would say, I would ask, that's quite a funky hair. So, why do you have that hair? So, it could be medical, because you might need to shave that part of your head.
Yeah, but Khalid, this is the point. No, Khalid, this is the point. You wouldn't do that in Islam. You see, this is one part of the misconception, because really this is to do with the ahkam, the do's and don'ts. This is your personal thing. You have a teaching, you've been told this, you should have been taught that Islam has multiple. So you might say to a friend, like let's say you're with a friend, you said, my teachers taught me this is haram. Okay. And he might say, well, actually, my teacher said it isn't. Okay, fine. Ahkam are not for people to preach or teach.
So you just need
they are only for qualified teachers to. Yeah, so really, all the Quran, a small portion of it is about ahkam. Less than 500, according to some people, 150 verses only. According to some, up to 500. 6,000 almost verses, give or take, are really the bulk of the Quran is speaking about the glory of God, how God is, the amazing, and how we should have this connection. And if we struggle to talk about that, then that's fine. That just means we need to keep walking the path, keep learning. I don't need to worry about taking ahkam to you. That's not my job. You see, I mean, I am a qualified teacher. I could be teaching. That's different. But most Muslims are not qualified in teaching Sharia. So, yeah, so that's what I would say. But I think that is an important point that you make. So, shukran for that, Khalid.
And one more last thing I want to add. I'm sorry what happened.
Sure,
with your family. I prayed.
Oh, right. Yeah.
May Allah
Mashallah. May Allah bless you.
Because she's a woman and they're innocent, and may Allah condemn their actions. I'm of quite
sure, Khalid,
and I support Palestine, but I would never do that.
No, I don't think anybody would. To be honest, most people with a decent, brain in their head would never do something like that. And shukran, Khalid, and may Allah keep you smiling, my brother. I appreciate that. Take care. Stay blessed. That was some beautiful words right there, people. You see, I'm still new working out all this. There it is. See, so all right, people, all right. So I'm just working this out. So interesting points there, and I think that is something we need to reflect on, because people do struggle with. You see, people are passionate about Islam, and that is amazing, and that they're coming from a place of love, and I love that. However, they don't know what to take forward. And firstly, you can just tell them, look, in that case, don't worry, you don't need to take anything. You're not, just relax. You just keep learning. It's your journey with God. Enjoy it. You're not sent as a prophet. You are a follower of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But if you want to take something, take forward the amazing character of the Prophet. If you want to take forward your connection with God and how you find God, the faith to be helping you in your daily life, and you find how it gives you meaning, and you find how it gives you strength, take these things. This is what will bring people to that connection with the faith. We often confuse it because we don't, we might not know what to share. So we think the easiest thing to share is a list of do's and don'ts. And that can only be done in a informal, friendly capacity, and really shouldn't even be done. But you could just, as a friend, I suppose, think of it always as what your doctor has told you. You're not really allowed to be preaching medical advice, but you could just tell your friends and family if you wanted. You might be wrong, but you could say, well, my doctor said this to me, or I Googled this. But you couldn't set up a website offering medical advice. and take this as a don't let this, what I'm saying here, this shouldn't come. Don't let this make you defensive. This should not make anybody defensive. This should be like, wow, okay, you're right. Actually, I should be speaking about my amazing connection with God. And if I think I don't know how to speak about that, then it's okay. Learn about it, cultivate it, develop it. Right, so who do we have? Let me take a look at some of the comments. Frowdy Fobbery is on the scene, people. You're doing it. What's an example of a non-physical thing? Is that to me? Any example? Okay. Abstract ideas and non-physical things. I don't know if that question was to me. See, look. Sadnim. Okay. Right, Sadnim Hossein says, do you believe that Allah has a shape? Yeah. The ears. Oh my God, Mufti, the ears. I don't know. Is that live jinn possession? Oh, has it gone off? Is the sound? Is the sound playing up? Okay, one moment. Let me check. Shouldn't be playing up. I've gone, like it says you've gone into, let me go into audio, test, change this. Switch this on and off. Hello, 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 hello. It seems to be testing. Okay, that's testing it. Has it got any better? It's fine now. The sounds normal. Shukran. Thank you for letting me know. Guys, do let me know if anything like that happens. It is a new setup, so I am expecting some teething issues time to time. It says it's fine now. Mushi. All right, Mushi, I'll take your word for it. So, Mufti, your gain is set too high. The gain is set too high. I don't know. Well, this is actually an entirely different setup, so it doesn't quite work in that way, but I could maybe in the future work on that. Right, so Al-Bogamainia, finally seeing you again. Shukran, yar. It's good to see you guys as well. Right, so should we take a look at another question that was already, oh my God, have I spilt some water on this already? Okay, this is quite a serious question, and the person asked to remain anonymous. Somebody's saying, I can't, guys, don't troll with I'm sending the link. If there's anything with the sound, I think somebody made another comment, so I'm not really sure. You know what? I'll have to keep my team, or hopefully some of you guys can just be. Right. Okay. I can't. If there's an issue with the sound, let me know. I don't know. You guys are saying mixed things, and it's kind of confusing me. So I can try and maybe check with someone. Okay, let me see. Sound is okay, somebody said. Okay, shukran. Right, let's focus, people. This was a bit of a serious question. I wanted to, we got to kind of bring our thoughts in. They wish to remain anonymous, and it reads, how do you tackle the feeling of being a failure when you're in an abusive relationship? I'm stuck in an abusive relationship for the sake of my kids, and I feel if I was to leave, I'd be failing them. Okay, so right now, first of all, may Allah make it easy for anybody that is struggling in these situations. I want to say that abuse is utterly unacceptable, and there is no space for it, not in the faith of Islam and not in the sphere of humanity. Okay. Now, there are many people who unfortunately find themselves in these kind of situations, and I have had, even over the past couple of months, quite a few actually from Instagram messages like this as well. Now I want to say, what does Islam say? And then I'll kind of like hone in on the points here. You see, a relationship only works with both people in it. Consider it like the tires of a bicycle. If it's both are in, it's going to work. If one is not in, it's not going to work. Okay. It doesn't matter how much the other one wants it to work. Now, Islam sets out the blueprint for relationships. It says imsakun bima'rufin or tasrihun bi ihsan. Now, this blueprint, it first of all nests it into a greater framework, which is to do with human nature. Allah says that Allah who has created, خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُم, He's created for you spouses who مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُم أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, that you may find comfort in one another. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُم مَّوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً, and Allah has placed love and compassion between you. And this is as human beings. You're going to find that people are drawn to one another, and that you're drawn physically, you're drawn by the arwah as well. There is that consciousness. And on a side note, I'll tell you that it's incredibly fascinating. I was looking into this recently about the whole electromagnetic field that the heart generates. It's shocking, between anything 3 to maybe 6 feet, it can generate an electromagnetic field around the individual in all directions that is detected, and it can be picked up by the EEG scan, by the and it's been tested in certain conditions where the regular, where there's no other interference, and it generates a field much greater, even though the brain operates with an electrical impulse also, but 60 times more powerful than the brain that is being generated by the impulse of the heart. And there are about 400,000 neurons within the heart as well, but it generates this. And so when people think, are we being impacted just by the presence? But we do, you see, and this is, psychology is still discovering a lot of this, and there's been studies on, can we detect the electromagnetic field? And as humans, we can. There's been studies where we just can't tell, because reptiles can, birds can, animals can, certain mammals can. And they did studies where they put people in these rooms and they generate an electromagnetic field resembling that of the earth. And what they'll do is it will change direction at a certain point. And the person can't tell, he's blindfolded. And what happens is they've got the electroencephalograms all kind of monitoring his brain. And the alpha wave patterns will change. You see, that's when, it changes, because at a resting state, that's the resting stage. So the brain's kind of resting, and then as they change the electromagnetic field, it changes, it drops, because it senses there's some change, but the person can't tell. See, you and I, we can't tell, but the brain has picked it up. And you can watch this. So we draw people to us. We have a powerful connection with people on many levels. There's, whether it's through the soul consciousness, whether it's going to be through things like this, whether it's going to be physically, and Allah is saying, جَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ, and there are signs in that for who? For anyone? No. لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ, only for people who can contemplate and pensively evaluate. So that's how Allah has nested this whole understanding of relationships, that imsakun bi ma'ruf, you either live together with kindness, or tasrihum bi ihsan, or you part ways gracefully. Now, coming back to this, and anybody who's in this kind of a situation, you should not, first of all, you are not responsible for the actions of the father, in this case, of the children. By the individual asking, look, I don't want, am I failing my children because, the father or the husband is being abusive, and if I no, you're not responsible for the other person's actions. They should know better. Okay. Secondly, research shows it's much more harmful for children to be in an abusive, even if it's not directed at them, but to be in the presence of an abusive relationship, than it is for them to be with a single parent. So yes, a family unit, does have much more positive impact on children than a single family, than a single parent unit. That is true with children. However, that is still much more positive than a family unit that has a toxic environment, because that is horrible. So do not feel that you need to sustain some kind of toxicity because it's the mark of some kind of failure. It's not. And a person's failure isn't by their marriage anyway. In fact, I saw this kind of short on YouTube, this clip, where this woman says, I met my ex after 10 years, and he asked me, Mrs. or Miss? And she said, Doctor. And I thought, wow, that, you see, it's perspective, isn't it? Perspective. You're not measured by your kind of married stroke divorce stroke single status. Even look, these are wonderful aspects of life. It's great to have, and I'm not saying don't have those relationships. They're crucial in their own way, but they don't define you, and a person should not have to put up with what is a criminal act. And it is criminal. It's illegal to, and people, and sometimes, I mean, I don't know, they haven't specified what the abuse is, and it's an embarrassment that such people have the guidance of Islam and they're still abusing other people like that. So I hope that's of some help, and our du'as are with them. I put that away. Yep. All right, so let's take. If you're financially secure, it's better to leave. But if you are not financially secure, maybe you can take some steps, because of course you can try to reconcile, you can try to mediate if you want to. I'm not saying you can't. I don't understand, each person has to live their own lives and their own relationships. But if it's something toxic, you see, the way I advise people is that relationships, imagine it's like a current. It's kind of, it's this is what it is. Yeah, this is the gradient. Now, a continuum. You will have some peaks and troughs, okay? So you'll have these kind of crests in between, the wave pattern. So you'll have some highs where it's awesome, incredible, amazing, full of life, epic. And you'll have some lows where it's maybe horrible, argumentative, and as long as the bulk of the relationship, for the overwhelming, for the majority of it, is just at least neutral. So even if it's not good, it's neutral. It's not toxic. It's neutral. And that's life for the most part. People will have mundane things. They're going to work. They're doing things. Mundane tasks. As long as it's like that, it's fine. That is actually a good relationship, because it's got ups. It's got fantastic. It's got these punctuated, amazing things in it, but it's just then mundane. It's routine. It's not negative. It's not in the red, but it's just neutral. It's like white. Let's say it's just, if that's the color stream and it's going into red or it's going into green. Now that's what it's like. Then that is good, I think. But if by default or most of the time it's in the red, it's negative and toxic, then that is a problem. And that is not something that is healthy by any means. Okay, so that's my advice. Let's, Imam Trump said, I love illegal stuff. Kya baat hai. Frank, it's realistic. Yeah, thank you, shukran. And that is because it's it's easy to say to people that, look, it should always be super and epic, but that's a fantasy. You see, yes, because life will, for the most part, be routine, but it can still be pleasant. Routine is not unpleasant. So, yeah. Mufti, can you please tell us if Allah has a shape or not? What shape do you think God has? It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing. It amazes me that how people think they want to fathom God. Recently I've been in these past few months, I've been really looking, kind of diving into some mathematics, and it's just mind-blowing. I've been watching this stuff. I've been discussing a lot with Dr. Mir Faisal as well, who I've had on. He's a quantum physicist and from Canada. He's like a born genius. I think mathematics, to some people, it's like an instinct. They don't need to learn it, they just see it. To the rest of us plebs, it's like most of humanity doesn't really see the depths of math. So we only see the surface, basic stuff. So let me give you an example. So when you go into maths and you see things and you see, so for example, you're going to have rational numbers, which will be the natural, the whole, the integers, and you'll have irrational numbers, and all of these will be still part of real numbers, and then you'll have imaginary numbers. So when you're looking at certain numbers, even, like people, the square root of -1. I mean, you wouldn't, you see, people can't even, the vast majority of humanity, we can't grasp these things. And I'm just talking about numbers, which people say are, for many people, they say it's a debate, is it discovered or is it inherent? But let me share something with you, that if I told you that, you see, if you added each integer, so 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, you added this to infinity. You added this to infinity. Do you know what the answer is mathematically? People are going to say, has Mufti been drinking here? I haven't. Do you know what the answer is? It's -1/12. It's -1/12. That is the answer. And that's not just a made-up answer. It actually holds up in quantum physics and in other matters where they apply it in certain elements of astrophysics and other things. So you can't even grasp that. Unless you're one of these odd people who can. These odd mathematicians who just see it. But but most human beings can't grasp that. We won't be able to understand that. How if you add each number to infinity, it turns out the answer is -1/12. So how do you expect to grasp God? How do you expect to, seriously? And the audacity that you expect to, and you can't even grasp, mathematics. So yeah, and this is nothing. This is just a basic. You should really, I advise people to look out for these kind of mathematical kind of conundrums and kind of check them out on YouTube. It's so fun. I mean, I just have to ask people like Professor Mir Faisal, and I have to say, Professor, what on earth is this? But it's amazing because it really puts things into perspective. It makes you think, wow. And there was me thinking I could grasp God. Nah. So, right, let's take on. Mathematicians are lying. They're not lying because they'll actually show you the working out. If you go on YouTube and type it, they'll show you the working out. And one of the key people, what was his name? Ramanujan. Ramanujan was one of the first people one of the key people, mathematicians, to also add to that, to kind of show it, from India. So they'll show you the working out, but it still won't make sense to you. To most people, it won't, most of humanity, unless you're one of these people that is born with an instinct for maths, which the majority of mankind are not. You see, to them, they just see the answer. They don't have to work it out. Is Anis, all right, is he on? Let me see. Do I see his comment? I don't see Anis's. Anis, yaar, ahlan wa sahlan, Gio. Much love. Anis, look at that. Somebody who is an example for humanitarian work, people. May Allah bless it. Right, so, look at this. Look at that. And Anis answers with the simple words, I am. Allah. They are thereby affirming existence, affirming the cosmos, affirming reality, affirming God. Allah, I am. Wow, Anis, you're doing it, yaar. Right, so let's take on some questions. Snake Eater, what a name. Wow. Right, who have we got waiting here? We've got some people waiting for a while. Ray has been waiting for Ray. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How's it going, Mufti?
It's going well, Ray. Where are you joining us from?
Eastern Europe.
Eastern Europe. All right. You've got a very British accent, I think. No? Or am I misreading that?
I'm a student at a university over here.
Okay, Ray. Ahlan wa sahlan. And welcome. What would you like to share with us? Any thoughts or reflections on maybe these verses or maybe some question you've got?
First of all, I'd like to ask, am I allowed to swear whilst I'm on here?
No, yeah. This is inshallah, family, a family friendly.
Get a bit passionate sometimes.
Oh no, don't get passionate, but not to swear, man. These are not nice, my friend.
I wanted to ask Mufti, do you believe that life has a meaning for, as a Muslim, do you believe that life has a meaning outside of what is considered to carry on into the afterlife?
Right, okay, break that down. So when you're saying, does life have a meaning, regardless, put aside the afterlife, but does it have a meaning in this world? Is that what we're asking?
Yeah, so like we have many things inside of the Quran which are referred to as being kind of things that carry on into the afterlife, depending on, whatever eschatological ultimatum befalls a person. But independent of the afterlife, do you believe that those things, independent of that, do they have any meaning or any purpose or anything like that?
I feel everything has its own purpose. Everything has a meaning, but it does depend on the eye of the beholder at times as well. Like it may serve a different meaning for you. It may help. It may have its own. Obviously, it will have its own ontological meaning as well.
Of course, but I'm asking about you personally, Mufti, because we can kind of like speculate with.
Like, do I take meaning from things? Is that what you mean?
Yes, and I'd also, if possible, like for you to refer it back to either your personal experience or perhaps how you might interpret things with Islam.
But I haven't still quite locked in on the question. So, do things have a purpose or meaning, even if it's not apparent? Is this what we're asking? Yeah.
Yes.
So for example, it may not be apparent to people that, let's say, I mean, now it is because of vast education, but let's say the trees, what purpose did they have? I suppose people could, with trees, they could make it out, I guess, maybe shelter for certain animals.
I'm sorry.
What purpose do animals have?
I should have clarified in terms of human experience, the things that we do or see or feel or experience or, our memories and all that kind of stuff. Strictly human experiences and the things that we do.
Well, it is our experience that enriches our story of life, our personal story. So you have a story, I have a story. Things we are experiencing are adding to that. They are becoming sections or pages or chapters within our lives. Is this what we mean? Is this what you mean by your question?
Yes, absolutely. Our
Okay,
experiences and memories, everything that's kind of make us up as a person.
Yeah. So yeah, of course. I mean, our lives are shaped to a considerable degree by our experiences. But I would like to caveat that by saying we are not the sum of our experiences. We are, yeah, exactly, Gestaltian kind of perspective, that we are much more, that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So people have had sometimes some terrible things happen to them, but they are not those terrible things. You understand? That may have even caused a dent in their lives, but they are not that. They are much bigger than that. But we carry this within us. We carry these emotions, these memories, these experiences, and they make us, and they give us, they add to our meaning. You see, because throughout life we are kind of, it's like, it is a journey, isn't it? And we're kind of finding our meaning. And I'll tell you something. Somebody had actually asked this question, and I'll bring it in here. It was actually asked by Sam Huck, who had asked about if there were any symbols I liked about that I found. I took a liking to particular ones, or any favorites within the Quran, and just tying it into this, that I do feel the Quran it presents a kind of archetype of man, and by man I mean human, that is kind of wandering, with an A. He's kind of like wandering,
like a vagabond.
It kind of almost present, like the different verses give rise to this archetype of man who is a wandering man. He has a kind of search within him.
I understand.
And I find that so incredible, because but I find it refreshing, because it is true. And that is what makes life so amazing. And there's that famous saying by Leo Tolstoy, that all great stories begin with one of two: that a man comes into town, or a man goes on a journey. That you'll see that this archetype. So life, similarly, it's like that, isn't it? We are kind of going along. We're adding, our experiences are adding to us, and they're also adding or defining or refining the meaning we take from life. So I don't know how old you are. Maybe you're in your 30s, probably, or maybe late 20s. Sorry. So
I'm 23, Mufti.
Oh, you're 23. Okay, so very young. Now you said you've traveled and you're studying somewhere, and that environment, that experience is adding to your life. But you see, in years to come, maybe you'll have different pursuits, and all of a sudden things will have a different meaning, because you'll think, well, actually life should be more about this right now. In fact, maybe all of life should be about this. But then in 10 years' time, you'll think differently.
Of course.
Yeah, and that's the chapters.
I'm sorry to interject. I'm sorry to interject, but back to my original question. I think you're deserving of some politeness. I think you're deserving of some politeness, given what happened as of recent. But
not generally.
All right, you got me
great.
There.
Look at this. Not generally. I'm not generally deserving of kindness. Ya salam, ya salam. Okay,
but again, this concept of the Gestalt, as you put it, again, does it have any purpose? Sorry, you're saying that this Gestalt, as a whole, it has purpose and meaning as it pertains to the kind of ultimatum that we have inside of the afterlife, right? Yeah, would I be correct in saying that that's kind of what you said? I'm
not sure, because the question is very evasive, so it's very difficult to to kind of parameterize what it is you're actually asking. So I thought you were asking, does the ontological entities within life and the experiences, do they serve to give meaning? And is that meaning valid? So in light of that, I said, of course, that, we take meaning, and there's a validity to that meaning that is being taken, and the ontological kind of entities that we encounter and our experiences, they shape the story of our lives.
But with Islam, and with the general understanding of Islam, that kind of meaning and purpose, that precedes all of the ontology, because it's all kind of seen within the light of.
Well, how does it precede the ontology? Ontology is being.
I meant the ontological kind of perception, that, like the knowledge that we pick up on, the experiences and the memories and that kind of thing. The meaning precedes it, Islamically speaking, traditionally speaking. Okay. It precedes it because, again, it's always pertaining to that kind of eschatological ultimatum.
There's a lot of words being thrown around. I think I don't, to be honest, I don't fully grasp the question. So I don't, maybe if you write it out and maybe send it to me, and I'll kind of ponder over it, because from what I've understood is you're asking, does meaning in this world carry value? And I've said, of course it does. And you said, can it carry value even if we're not looking at the akhirah? And I've said, of course, because we're experiencing it and it's adding to our stories. And then you've said, well, I said, so that's the part of it. But then you've
right.
So I've not understood any.
I'll tell you why I kind of opened up with this line of inquiry. The reason being is because, since I kind of became exposed to, the community that you've brought up, with like the Discord server and such, I've come across many people who, alhamdulillah, they have started to view Islam in a way that isn't that kind of classic fire and brimstone kind of thing, carrot and stick, that kind of thing. However, there's still kind of, like, for example, with many of the speakers and the questions that you had up until this point, the mindset that they have is that, these things that they go through, they don't have meaning outside of what happens inside of the afterlife, and that's kind of what is
they don't have what? Sorry, so they don't have meaning outside of the afterlife, as in this world, they don't have meaning.
Yes.
So for example, like the person spoke about loss and suffering, that doesn't have meaning in this world. It does.
I know, but the issue.
So the other person spoke about, for example, how to cope with, he said if he had any suffering, or if he faced racism, or if he did things, and how that's all to do with this world. Why are none of these to do with this world?
I understand. And the reason why I bring it up is because of mindset, right? So if we have this mindset that life is important because of the afterlife, then sometimes the way that we view life, because, the afterlife, it's not, because we are biological creatures, it isn't something that empirically we can.
Okay, so I think
that's why I think it's an issue.
Okay, so I think I'm kind of like honing in on what the question is. The question is, imagine we pretend for a moment there is no akhirah. Can we still be good people and live a meaningful life? Yeah. So, and I think that would be that. Yes, of course we can, and we can look to Judaism as an example, especially the early kind of rabbinic kind of literature, which didn't really affirm an afterlife. It didn't necessarily negate it, but it didn't affirm it.
Sorry to interrupt, Mufti, but it's not about whether or not we can. It's about whether this has a place inside of Islam. That's what I'm asking about.
I still don't. It's too late for me, Yad. It's too late for me. You know what? Okay, shukran. I'll have a think about it. I'll tell you what, Ray. I'll have a think about it. If anything occurs to me, I'll give you a shout, okay? So I'll kind of put it out. But shukran for coming on. Shukran for sharing. That's definitely got my kind of neurons all firing, and I'm trying to figure it out. But take care, man. Stay blessed. Much love wherever you are in Eastern Europe. Enjoy and good luck with the studies. Take care, my brother. Assalamu alaikum. Right, so a bit of a philosophical question there. To be honest, I couldn't quite get my head around what was being asked. So I did try several attempts, but chalo yaar. In the end, we got to just leave it. So let's take 1-2 questions, wrap this up. This has been kind of going on way too long now. So I changed my username. Every person is talking too much. Believe in Allah. Try your best. And what happens? You dies. Yeah, to be honest, I didn't really get the question unless he had a different question, which I didn't get. Somebody said I do get it. Okay, excellent. Let's take a look. Right, I did say I was going to take some of these. This is an interesting question, actually, by Adam Dean from YouTube. It says, Mufti, I have a question that I worry too much. And this, I think, may actually affect many people. And I worry, it says, I worry too much about others and their difficulties. Hence, can't focus on myself only. How can I overcome this? And I think this is, and to be fair, I'd seen this in 1-2 other places as well. So I'm glad this person's put this forward, because it's this, right. So firstly, I want to say that a person who is a persistent or a chronic warrior, with an O, not with an A, a warrior, but a warrior, they are coming from a place of love and empathy, which is amazing. So they're a huge empath, and that's amazing. So that's a good thing. However, it's kind of turned on itself. It's like the immune system has kind of like the autoimmune diseases. It's turned on itself and it started attacking the individual. So this worry has now become crippling. It's supposed to help you help people, but what it's began doing is making you suffer, because you can't partake. Like we've had Eid now, and people, for example, they could think, look, it's a great time. It's a time of Eid. Or somebody could be getting married, and I think this is a wonderful time. I'm loving it. But all these people are suffering around the world. People, so-and-so is in extreme poverty. So-and-so is, dying. There's kids with cancer. There's grown-ups with cancer. There's people, you start worrying about all of the negativities. And then you feel helpless. But what you do is you then shut out your own, the goodness coming to you, because you think, I'm not allowed to have happiness. I don't deserve happiness because I'm too busy. Oh my God, why is there suffering in the world? So and in fact, I think it's probably about a month ago, somebody else, we got into this discussion on some of the comments in YouTube as well, exact same thing. The person actually said, the person mentioned, how can people be happy if the Uyghur concentration camps are going on in China? So very similarly, so this is coming from a place of love and compassion and empathy. So the root is good, but it's kind of become, it's turned on the person themselves, and it's preventing them from being able to partake in any happiness in life. And this is wrong. Okay. So firstly, you have to understand that you are very limited as a human being. You can't change the world. Even if you want to, you can't. And the element of suffering is a human element. That is an element, that is a reality since time immemorial. Since there's been life, there's been suffering. Okay? Now, you cannot go out and change everything. You may be able to do some things, and that's great, but you can't change it. You say, well, oh my God, the Uyghurs are suffering. Me as an individual, you as an individual won't be able to do anything about that. You may be able to say, well, I'm going to raise some awareness, I'm going to do this. That's good, but you won't really be able to change the situation. Maybe people with more power will be, and you can do something. But survivor's guilt, and this is what it kind of falls under. In psychology, you have this thing that people who survive something feel like, oh my God, I don't deserve this. You know, why am I in so much happiness when such and such person died or is riddled with? So, for example, there's a good case study where this is being discussed as an example, where the husband and wife, and the husband has cancer, but the wife now feels guilty every time she goes out for an ice cream, every time she goes to meet her friends, she feels guilty that why my husband's at home riddled with cancer, and you know, here I am. Now, this helplessness, you have to understand that you cannot, yes, you cannot change that, but it does not mean that you should be deprived of life. It does not mean that. Allah has not made you mukallaf like that. La yukallif Allahu nafsan illa wus'aha. You only have your capacity, you see. And I'll tell you an amazing book. In fact, I'll do it in maybe the next month. I don't know, we'll think about it. We'll do it in one of the book club kind of reviews and discussions. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor. Now, you'll have Viktor Frankl. This is a must for everyone. Now, Viktor Frankl, who was a psychologist, a psychiatrist, somebody who already had knowledge of how the brain and psyche works, and he was locked up in a concentration camp. But he speaks about, now think of a concentration camp, like he was in Auschwitz, amongst other places too, that where you would think that these people would want to kill themselves. Yet he speaks of how they find meaning, how they still find things to be grateful for. You and I can't fathom that, but you read it, his first hand, as he's explaining to you, and he doesn't just explain, he goes on to set up this whole branch of logotherapy, that Man's Search for Meaning. That is his book, but it's also his kind of his mantra of his sub school within psychology, logotherapy. So you read that really gives a lot, but I would say that it's good that you have that compassion, but don't let it cripple you. Allah has also given you blessings that He wants to see you celebrate. Okay, Allah wants to see that. That فَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. So you should, the blessings of your Lord, say them. Don't just, don't be arrogant, but be proud that you do have these blessings. Partake in them. There's a hadith, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ أَن يَرَى أَثْرَ نِعْمَتِي عَلَى عَبْدِهِ. Allah wants to see you great. Don't be kind of like, I'm not going to, oh my God, other people, why should I be grateful? Why should I have these blessings? Because other people haven't got them. You've got them, have them, be grateful and do your part. You see? So, yeah. So do not let this do not be, if you are a chronic warrior with an O, you need to overcome that. You need to stop it, reduce it, kind of tone it in. It's great. It's coming from a place of love, but it's crippling you. Okay. And it's not what Allah wants from you. Allah wants you. وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. Celebrate the blessings of your Lord. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. So, right, I hope that helps. Right, let's take on, and then I'm going to wrap this up. Let's bring on, we've got Darth Vader. Allahu Akbar. Darth Vader, ahlan wa sahlan.
Assalamu alaikum, you okay?
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you doing, Darth Vader?
Good. Can you hear me properly? Because I'm using
I can absolutely hear you loud and clear.
Okay, perfect.
Right.
Firstly, I just wanted to...
Where are you joining us from, Darth Vader?
From Horwich. It's near Manchester.
Manchester. All right. Doing it, man. Doing it.
I'm actually from Luton Town. But
Luton.
But yeah, currently living in Horwich.
All right. Ahlan wa sahlan. Shukran for joining us. Do share your thoughts, or if you have a question or you just want to add to the overall message, go for it.
I did want to add to the overall message, but before I do, I just wanted to say, well, I hope you're all well, your family's well.
Shukran. We are, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
I think what happened to you, especially like on the Discord groups and you know, everybody who's associated with you and your message, I think everybody kind of like took it personally. What happened to you?
Yeah. Yeah. No, and you know, that is wallahi, that is the love of the people, and it really touched me. And I have to say that I, you know, post all of this, it was a traumatic event. There has been what is called post-traumatic growth. Like, I've honestly felt so much growth in so many areas, and I was actually reading up about the research that's been done on post-traumatic growth as well, and I was like, wow, okay, because I'm actually living a lot of these things. And it comes down to, wallahi, I feel so fortunate and lucky that there were so many people who kind of showed so much love, so much support, even their du'as, even just they partook in the pain. Because it's like you said, that, you know, people, it hit them personally, and they're also helpless. So it kind of generates that kind of almost like a kind of trauma for them as well, because they feel, wow, like what the hell's just. But wallahi, you know, may Allah keep you all always smiling. You know, the Patreon groups, the Discord server, and other people as well, they've been so just amazing. Wallahi, they've been asking, you know, checking in on me all the time, and sometimes, you know, in the beginning, because so much is going on, I can't really get back to people, but it's just they've always been there, and, you know, been messaging, and they don't need to, but this is their love, and I felt to myself that, wallahi, wow, how many people are not in a position like that, and they go through trauma. They don't have people for them. And this was one of the reasons that I felt that I want to do something as well to kind of give forward as well, you know, to maybe in some way, you know, even if it's a little, to be able to help other people going through difficult times as well. But shukran, man, I really appreciate that. And, you know, I'd like to say on that as well, that it's the, you see, the Muslim community, we have to understand that we have to be, Islam is about dialogue. It is about having, you know, the first word is iqra. The first word, why? Because when you read, you're going to engage. You're going to engage the other. You see, because the prophetic society was not one that read. So they would bring down the other kind of scribes from Northern Arabia who were well read, mainly rabbis and sometimes priests and other people. But by iqra to the people, you will now engage that discourse. And the whole Meccan period, which was the bulk of the Prophet's prophetic life, was all about just engaging. There was no, you know, there was no Medina at that point. There was no ahkam and rules and laws. And it was a lot of it, unfortunately, people were being very horrible to the Prophet. They were, you know, torturing the Prophet, or tormenting him. And the Prophet, and Allah says, فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ. You know, you still kind of so soft and still merciful and engaging people. And this is why they kind of drew to the message. And there was, you know, recently, I don't know if you must be aware, there was Hatun, the lady, yeah. She was stabbed in the face or something at, I saw the clip on YouTube, and wallahi, shocking, horrid behavior. This is so appalling. This is, apart from it just being disgusting on every level, it is, you know, this is then how the whole of Islam is characterized. That, look at this, animals. You know, they can't even have a dialogue. And look, people say she insults Islam, or she insults the Quran, or I haven't really watched hardly anything of hers. I think I've seen one, maybe last year. I think I saw a program where she was speaking about the Quran thing with I think that Jay Smith or something, I saw one, but I've never seen any of her things. But I know she's this person who is very critical of the Quran and Islam, and I think she's, you know, she I don't know how foul-mouthed she is. I don't know. Is she? I don't think she. I don't know, right? But
Well,
even
let me just say, I have a neighbor that has a barking dog. I don't entertain it.
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
So the thing is that, look, even if somebody stands there saying the Quran is false, even if they say the Quran is ridiculous, the Quran is stupid, they say the Quran is like this, so what? Let them say it. You know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make it so. Just because it's their opinion. Somebody says, look, I think the Prophet was like this. Prophet was an amazing, is one of the, you know, to us, one of the he epitomized mercy for people. But somebody may say, you know, I heard the other day, there's a podcast, and somebody said that the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, obviously this was a non-Muslim, said was a warlord. Now, disagree. Now, okay, maybe to that person, that's what they've read and that's what they think. Tika, you know, I don't need to kind of, you know, turn into like some kind of a Neanderthal. Like, let them be. Leave them alone. People say, you know, these ex-Muslims, they cuss Islam. These atheists, they cuss Islam. These Islamophobes swear to the Quran. Ignore them. You don't need to show better. You know, this is, wallahi, people don't, this is the thing. They do not, it's so difficult to live up to the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is why I say to people, you know, this very verse I just read about, فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ. This was to the Prophet, yeah, it was by a mercy of God that you were so soft to them. لَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَنْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. If you were harsh, they would have all left you, deserted you. Yeah, Allah is saying this is in the Quran. And then what does Allah describe? That illa rahmatan lil alameen, that you were a paragon of mercy for the whole world. And check this, people will say these people swear to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abu Jahl swore to the Prophet, you know, all the time, did much worse. The Prophet still made dua for him. You see, this is why it's difficult to live up to the sunnah, to say, well, let's say a nice word for the person. I'll tell you what, let me make dua for the person. Never. People will be like, no, let's. And, you know, there's a story, I want to share this, yeah, that, you know, when during the Meccan time, there was a person by the name of Uthman ibn Talha. Yeah. Now, he used to have the keys to the sanctuary, the Kaaba thing. And every Monday and Thursdays, this is in the early period of Islam, they used to have certain gatherings where people would come in and worship around the Kaaba. And he would block the Prophet from entry. And then what he did is he didn't just stop there, he started to take it a bit personally, take it more, he started to insult the Prophet. And he started to then mock the Prophet. Uthman ibn Talha. And you can check this up, people can. He started to mock the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then on a few occasions, he abusively, physically was abusive to, he threw the Prophet out of the sanctuary and things like this. And the Prophet said to him once, you know, it hurt the Prophet. And he said to him that, Ya Uthman, he said, لَعَلَّكَ, he said that it may be that one day, you know, لَعَلَّكَ, he said, لَعَلَّكَ سَتَرَى بِيَدِي يَوْمًا مِفْتَاحَ الْكَعْبَةِ أَضَعُهُ حَيْثُ شِئْتَ. The Prophet said to him, what if one day you see that the keys to the Kaaba are in my hand and I dispose of them as I please? And he mocked the Prophet on this. And and laughed and hurt him, and this went on for years. Now the tables turned as time unfolded, and with the Fath of Mecca, the Prophet came, and now Mecca had been subdued. It was in the hands of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, And the Prophet said, because he wanted the keys, he said, call Uthman ibn Talha. And they called him. And he said, Hatil Miftah, give the keys. And he handed him over to the Prophet. And the Prophet said to him, now, he said to him that, the Prophet said to him, he said, Ya Uthman, do you remember I once said to you, لَعَلَّكَ سَتَرَى هَذَا الْمِفْتَاحِ, that maybe a day will come you will see this key, بِيَدِي, in my hand, أَضَعُهُ حَيْثُ شِئْتُ, I dispose of it as I will. Do you remember that day that I said that? And he looked at the Prophet, and think of it, the Muslims are there, the armies, power, might, everybody subdued the kind of resilience, the resistance has crumbled to the hands of the believers, even though there's been no bloodshed, but this is how, and he's in that position, and think about it, all this strength in front of you, and he kind of just drops his head. And the Prophet gets the key, and he gives it back to him. And he says, I'd like you to take care of it. And he said, and this will remain in your hand. He said, in your family, till the end of time. La yanza'uhu illa zalim. Anybody taking it from you is an oppressor. He broke down, Uthman did. Uthman ibn Talha. And he said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. You see, it's difficult, isn't it, living up to the true sunnah? Like people, think about it. Could the Prophet have not, stab him in the face? This person used to mock me. He had me dragged out of here, thrown out. He laughed at me. He insulted me. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. But this is the problem that and it is unfortunately a few bad apples. It is a few bad apples, but it's it's enough to taint everyone. Like you, me, everyone, we get painted as, these kind of caveman Neanderthals of a Muslim barbaric culture that cannot handle any discussion, and they just resort to violence. But yeah, it's I just I got distracted, but I thought I'd share that.
I mean, so to anyone who kind of takes it personally, I mean, to them, I always say, like people like Hatun, for instance, her comments, how does that affect the throne of Allah? Does it? It doesn't. Makes no difference.
How does it affect anything in life? It doesn't. Like the sun's still rising. This life is going on. Let them. You know what I say? I say let them bring their best arguments. It's only going to improve us. Because we're going to have to get better at answering. You're only as good as your opponent. Because that's who your rival, because that's the competition. So if I always say that, I don't feel insecure with these people I think, bring it on. Let's, maza aayega, yeah? We're going to see what's the best argument you've got, and we'll answer it. About
2 years ago, I think I came across the channel about 2 years ago. And it's like a breath of fresh air, because it was like, it looks like the British Pakistanis, for instance, and our community, we're kind of like maturing. We're kind of like, we're not, like you put the tissue on your head, like, we're moving away from that. We're actually having intellectual, discussions. We're, appreciating philosophy a lot more. And not saying that we're becoming westernized, you know what I mean by westernized, but more like on the intellectual level, we're actually reasoning far more. And I think when the attack that took place on you, it was like I thought we were making progress here, but clearly, because obviously our community, when do religious people like muftis or maulvis or anything like that be attacked? That's like that's a no-go zone, if you know what I mean.
It's true. It's true.
And for me, it was like, if our people are starting to do this, they're crossing a line here now. Do you know what I mean?
No. And you see, the way I see it is, you're right. It was on many scales, a new low. There's different ways to look at this. There's from my personal thing, and obviously from the external, like if I'm seeing it from a third person. From my personal thing, the way I see it is that, look, I try to look out for the good, the positive, and I see that there's been a hell of a lot of positives. Honestly, following, it's not that they did it. They obviously did something horrible and terrible and tragic, but when I see how it was counteracted with so much love, compassion, when I see the positivity, even the people reaching out, even people who had a lot of disagreements, even different people who sometimes I'd kind of, we'd had our kind of little, I would say banter, maybe people took it offensively, even with some of the Deobandis, some of the other groups, it had gone back and forth. I've had a lot of these people all reach out. They've connected with a lot of love and compassion. And I've really felt it. And from all groups, from Brailvis, from Salafi, just because it was a human thing. It wasn't really and then on top of that, like you're saying, it felt like, oh my God, even if we disagree with somebody over an Islamic position, let's say, is this how Muslims resort to things? And it did show that, wow. So yes, it was a new low from one perspective, but I saw that the amount of goodness that followed, that people, they kind of swarmed in with so much goodness from diverse people and just building those bonds. I really thought, wow, that it was something from that perspective.
You have to be a man of faith to see the silver linings here.
Well, yeah, because you see, true, but you do see them. Wallahi, they are there. And there was so much. It wasn't just a few. In the beginning, when things happen, sometimes it's difficult right there and then because, the shell shock factor. But you have to be someone that looks at the greater algorithm at play. And you start to feel, and this wasn't just looking, I was feeling the love from people. I was feeling even people connecting with me who had a lot of disagreements with me. Like connecting like this, that's a big thing. Like people, sincerely, what comes from the heart, it hits the heart. It's like, I was speaking a while ago about just a moment ago about the electromagnetism of the heart, the electromagnetic field the heart creates. But it's Allama Iqbal who says, जो बात दिल से निकलती है दिल पर असर रखती है पर नहीं ताकत परवाज मगर रखती है. What comes from the heart, it hits the heart. It doesn't have wings, but it flies, and you feel it. And I felt genuine. I'd like to think, I'm reasonably astute enough, and I felt genuine kind of concern, love, compassion, and I thought to myself, you know what? Like, there will always be people that do stupid, horrible, messed up things, but it restored my faith in one, humanity, and two, in the Muslim community, because I felt that even people, whether they were in their denominational things, whether they were sectarian, whether they didn't even like me because they disliked me because of stuff I said, but yet these bonds of brotherhood were still there, that they felt some hurt to kind of reach out. And I thought as well, because, as the dust settled and I took time out for myself, and I thought, wow. And I thought about people, I thought about what are their struggles and what are these people's struggles, because they're going through struggles as well. And I thought that, what, I really do want to see this kind of positive collaboration in trying to help in that way. I'm hopeful, optimistic. Let's see how it goes.
It's great to hear you say all of this, because from the outside, from like for people like myself and others who haven't seen or experienced that reaction, for us it was like more. I can imagine. Destroyed our faith in society or a community. If you know what I mean.
So I would like to put that out there, saying that, you're right, because to be honest, there was because I kind of took time out for other things first, just by necessity first, and then I kind of thought it's actually a good time to just have a bit of me time and also focus on myself, focus on what I'm doing, connect with people, network. And to be fair, I've not been sharing it just because, not because it's I don't know, like a planned effort, but it's just been organic. So I've just been, people have been visiting me. I've been visiting people. There's been a hell of a lot going on. And other people like yourself who show me a lot of love and support and are on, like, let's say the Discord group or follow me on social media, they may not have seen that. And they wouldn't have, or maybe some of them may have known about it, but I think most may not. And to them, they may think, well, oh, damn, I wonder what's... So I'd like to kind of echo that again, that there's been a lot, alhamdulillah, a lot of love. And I'm saying this from people of different factions, different kind of denominations who may have had not seen eye to eye with me. They've reached out very positively, very warmly. They showed love, compassion, and you reciprocate. You're a human. You're as a creature. Why do people love pets? Pets show this kind of unconditional love, but they show that as a reaction. You see, we are insan at the end of the day. We want to give it forward as well. We want to give back, and I have to say those bonds have been really good with a lot of people. And even and it shocked me that people I didn't expect, like you would think, but even then, and you think, wow. And this is why as well, when I kind of took time out and I just chilled and kind of did reading, and I did a lot of mindfulness as well. And I think that's important as well, because we miss this. And what it does is in city life, our intuitions can get kind of clouded at times. And I think by gathering, and you could just do it for 60 seconds a day if you want. You could do it for a couple of minutes, just to, you just focus and you kind of collect. You can just focus on your breathing, focus on gratitude, focus on whatever. You can do it at the beginning of a day, during a day, at the end of whenever you want. And you can incorporate it in your salah, you can however you want, but it sharpens your intuition. And you feel as well that...
It's crazy how many comparisons you can draw between that. When you were earlier on explaining about the toxic relationship, like in religion as well, where you get that, you feel like you're in a relationship with the rest of the community. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Like, how do I get out of this toxic situation?
It's true, but I would say, look, if you're in circles that are very toxic, just remove yourself from them. Faith is something wonderful, and it should bring value to your lives. It shouldn't impede you, shouldn't trip you up. It should be something positive, okay? And sometimes maybe we just need to clean our lens a bit. And sometimes, maybe we just need a bit of time out. Maybe we need to change our circles, like you're saying. And everybody, this goes for everybody. And one thing I would like to reiterate, I definitely felt whilst kind of doing all this mindfulness and stuff, and I felt that it's not about, for the most part, it's not about, people are not necessarily bad guys or bad people for the most part of humanity. You do get some odd people, but I mean in the religious circles I'm talking about, and that's what I'm talking about. So you've got certain religious circles, certain groups, but what it is that they have got maybe in a rut, and everybody kind of is struggling in their own way, and they need a bit of help. And sometimes, we're in our own kind of ruts, and we just get stuck, and we get stuck, and we get stuck, and we're not. But it's important to realize that, because it is a realization that people are not, you might look at a particular sect or a denomination and think, oh, those people are bad people or evil. But it's not. Like they too are trying to do something from a position of like a kind of sincerity towards the deen, but maybe they've got stuck in this kind of rut, and then in this little micro bubble, and then it's got all kind of toxic, and people
I feel like you're describing the signs here, but not. You may be missing the symptoms, and this brings me on nicely to what I actually wanted to say when I came on. Sure. I mean, what's your take, and I don't know about your knowledge or understanding of like the autistic mind. and the autistic spectrum, because previously you used to think autism only affects men, for instance. Now they're realizing that no, it doesn't. It actually also affects women.
Yeah, of course.
It's just that women are better at hiding it. So previously,
I don't know if that's the case. I think what it is men. Maybe okay. That's interesting. I've not read into the disparity between the genders on autism, but I could look into that.
It's now, for instance, like widely being discussed that it's like instead of a linear or like a lateral spectrum, it's actually like a circular spectrum, for instance, and everyone is autistic to a degree, because what is autism at the end of the day? It's processing information in a binary form. Our brains are like computers. Computers process information in a binary form. So, to what degree do you suffer from it, or where do you land on the spectrum would then determine how you process information. So, for instance, if you're extreme, like what they would say, extremely autistic, or like Asperger's, for instance, or like high functioning, you're going to be far more, you're going to be more likely to process information like in extreme binary. So you're going to see things black and white in every decision you're making, in every interaction you're having with new information or knowledge. You're taking it and you're putting it in either a yes or a no, or a black or a white, or a 1 or a 0 box. You're not seeing the color, for instance. So it could be a range of things. Like, do you like apples?
I get that.
Apples.
So,
I don't like
and you're right.
Apples.
And was your point that people in religion may be more? Is that what you meant? That
I think people
they reflect these signs of autism.
People that are brought to our attention, let's just say, seem to be more on that extreme
kind
end
of spectrum.
Yeah,
I could agree that what I feel. I agree that it could be, and I've said this I think previously, that you see, people who are autism is a spectrum, like you're saying, continuum. But it's interesting that you say, can we all be autistic on that spectrum? And sure, I mean, that I didn't think of it like that, but now that you say it like that, yeah, I guess so, because there are certain things in which we may be deemed as, oh my God, this person didn't get the social cue, but in other settings we may be perfectly fine, and some people may be in all settings kind of out of it, or not being able to interpret what's going on. So there's the very clear clinical autism that people think of when they think of autism. So they think of somebody who's
like some sort of disability.
I mean, it's not a physical disability, but it's like they need everything OCD. There's a hyper structuralism to their life, that everything must be in order, and they don't get, for example, punchlines. They won't get jokes. They don't get social cues that are non-verbal. So things like maybe
they do get jokes. You just have to say, "I'm joking."
So things like that. That's how I think generally when you say autism, Asperger's being at the far end of that, like the kind of Rain Man kind of example that you've got in the movies. But so to a lesser degree, let's say they're not like that, but to a lesser degree, people who are still, they require a lot of structure in life, this kind of binary aspect and perspective that you mentioned, that black and white, like things have to be in order for me to, I like to do everything in order. I like to be told you can't do this, you can't. You see, ambiguity, they struggle with ambiguity, like this grayness. And ambiguity is in all of our lives. It's in the world. The world has, by necessity, is ambiguity. Words are ambiguous. We are ambiguous. So now, although I think all of us probably have some little run-in with ambiguity, but these people would struggle immensely with, they don't like this kind of gray zone. They like black and white. Tell me yes or tell me no. Don't tell me. This amber in the middle doesn't make sense to me. So it's either green or red. Now, that category of people that are drawn towards that, it makes sense that they would be drawn towards a strong code of do's and don'ts.
A bit like the
which is
survivor
religion.
you were talking about. That survivor mentality that you were talking about earlier on before I came on. It's like that. It's like somebody mentioned in the comments section that how can I celebrate Eid whilst Palestine's being attacked?
Oh yeah. The guilt. What is it? The survivor's guilt. That why have I been saved and this person suffering? But this what I mean here is a person who needs strong regimental do's and don'ts structuralism in their lives. They can quite easily find an allure in religion, especially religion that offers a strict code of do's and don'ts, because that is how their lives operate. So to them, you can find such people. I mean, it's a natural corollary. It follows naturally, seamlessly, that such people may be drawn to religion.
Would you say it's because of how their lives operate, or because of how their brains operate?
Because of how their brains operate, that they would find, and I don't mean religion by the greater landscape of religion, but I think these people, because they need black and white in life, there's a greater an attraction. It doesn't mean all of them will be drawn to religion, but I feel that there is somewhat of an allure in a strict list of do's and don'ts, which in this society may not be easily found. Like in a society like the West, where people, it's an individualistic society, you live your own life, I live my life, where there's an appreciation for arts and for ambiguity and for, this kind of a society is not a black and white society. So in these societies, such people may find themselves gravitating towards religion, because they may think, well, I like this. This is don't do. This is do. This is don't. And so they become religious. And so you're right in saying that could it be that these people are drawn towards religion and they end up becoming, let's say, some kind of an imam, or some kind of even if it's not an imam, but some kind of because they're so passionate, they preach and they become these kind of like da'is and so on. I think that's very plausible. And it makes sense. Although I don't think all religious people are, I think it would be categorically wrong to say all people who are drawn to religion are it's because of autism. No, not at all. I think the real reason people are drawn towards religion, people as a whole, is because it gives them meaning and hope. See, even if it's not hope, yes, meaning to their story in life. There's that, and I would actually say, and I unfortunately because of time I can't get into it, one of the questions was about God. And I feel that despite what atheists say, most human beings feel that their lives have been touched by the hand of God at some point. And they feel that, you know what, I can't explain how, but I can feel that there is a God. And this, this Akbar Ilahbadi, he says in a poem, Har zarra chamakta hai anware ilahi se, that every atom is radiant with the illumination of God. He says, Har zarra chamakta hai anware ilahi se, har saans ye kehti hai, hum hain to khuda bhi. That you see, he says, every breath echoes to us that if I am, then God must be. It's like there's but it can't be explained. Like sometimes people feel I can't, and it's interesting, a bit like the mathematics I was saying, that there's the movie as well made about the mathematician, the man who knew infinity. And see, one of the things was they wanted him to explain the working out. And this is why sometimes some of these people, they have an instinct for maths and they can just see it, but they can't explain how they see it. Like, how do you know that's the answer? And they say, well, I know it's the answer. And they are right, some of these super, mathematicians. but they can't explain the journey to it, because it doesn't fit in. Like, to them, they can't find the words to explain it. And in a similar way, I feel we as people, for the most part, have, like, we can tell, like, we can feel there is a God, but we just can't explain it. And we can use the rationale, and we can use philosophy, and we can use these arguments, but really the feeling that we have is greater than all of them, but we just can't explain it. And that is the reason that most people are drawn towards religion. But so, not to be misunderstood, but yes, these people may also be drawn to religion because of the rules. Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying that's the only reason that people are drawn to God. I'm just saying that.
No, I'm not saying you were, but I just thought it's it's important to analyze that. Yes, such people are also drawn, but I find these people are more so drawn to rules. It's like the yes and the no's and the harams and the don'ts and this is why they don't like the ikhtilaf. Oh my God, there's ikhtilaf, and no, give me just one. Okay, just give me one, and I'll follow that. And
what does that mean?
The ikhtilaf, the differences of opinion. So they think, oh my God, there's a difference. What do you mean it can be halal and haram? And no, it can't. It's like
there's a gray area.
Because that struggles. And, may Allah, to be honest, may Allah make it easy for them, because people who have that as that's the way the brain modality works for them, they're kind of stuck. The problem, but there's other people who are not stuck, but they are influenced by that culture, so they can kind of outgrow it if they just start to kind of learn and do stuff. Right? Whoa! It is getting really late now.
It's been a pleasure.
Been epic. It's been epic. So, Darth Vader. It's been epic, man. Shukran for that. Much love. Shukran jazeelan. Right, and all my love, man. Take care. People, let's wrap this up. It's been amazing, I have to say. Shukran, all of you that have kind of stayed to the end. We got distracted. What I will do is each week I will put up different verses and look at a different theme. So we were looking at kind of hardships today and struggles. We'll look at an entirely different kind of theme next week. I'll put up some verses and we'll take questions and have that. I was actually looking to just keep it to 1.5 to 2 hours, but it's kind of almost coming to 3 hours. What the hell, yaar? Abhi ye kya ho raha hai? But why not, huh? If you have a passion. There's the poet Dag Dehlavi. Someday, remind me, people, I have to tell you his story. He is an epic poet, and he has such colorful stories. He has his whole love story to him as well, with this Munni who falls in love with him, and it's a bit of a tragic story. I'll tell you that another time. But Dag Dehlavi, he says in a poem, he says, "Hazaron kaam mohabbat mein maze ke hain daag, jo log kuch nahi karte कमाल करते हैं." He says, in love there's thousands, countless epic things to do. हजारों काम मोहब्बत में मजे के हैं दाग. So many things to do. Those who do not engage in love, those who don't do love, he's saying, all I can say is you're doing it. But he's saying that part sarcastically, of course. I don't know. That's the best way I can translate it. You're doing it. Jo log kuch nahi karte, kamal karte. So people, it's been epic. You guys are doing it, man. Kamal karte ho, yaar. Kamal karte ho. So do reach out. I hope you're. I'm really excited about the book club thing as well. By the way. This is coming up blue. It's actually green, by the way, but I think it's catching the green screen, so it's turning it blue. But it's called Money, Yuval Harari's. I'm gonna do that we'll have that as, I'll tell you the day. So it's going to, we could probably aim it for maybe the 30th of August. And what we'll do is, have a bunch of us and we'll talk about it. And it doesn't have to be locked into a religious theme at all. It's just, I thought this is an epic book to start with. Let's have some light-hearted discussion on the book, and each month we'll choose a different book. I'll get you guys who are interested added to a different server just for this. But there's two things I want to say here. One is we will live stream it, so our discussion. So if you just want to watch, that's epic. But the participants, so people on the server, are really people who want to actually read as well, and they want to kind of I get it, every month you might not be able to read the whole book, but at least it kind of, it's a little, I don't know, kick up the the behind to get reading. That you think, yeah, you know, I know, let's read a book every month. What the hell? So, and let's have a discussion about it. Let's talk about it. Let's have some fun and let's learn. And, you know, I think it'll be great. But the group really then, the Discord for the reading will be people who are willing to actively read the book and talk about it. So we say, hey, what do you think, man? What did you like about it? What was this? What was that? Was he just chatting it or what? And we can have some light-hearted humor in that as well, inshallah. And what I'll do is maybe about 2 weeks in on the server, I'm going to have this server set up and I'll have you guys added. I'm still trying to figure out how we're going to do that. But what I'll do is I'll share somebody's details on my social media, and you can contact him and he will then get you all added to the server. Okay? And I'll take some suggestions for next month's book. Guys, it's been awesome. Much love to you all. Do watch the other stuff as well. Share this, like it, share it, show your love. If you haven't already subscribed, you haven't already subscribed. Subscribe, man. Subscribe, man. Do the love, man. Do the love, yeah. And Patreon, for those of you that want to show your love and support, you can head over to Patreon. People asked about my Mindscape server. The Mindscape server on Discord is just for Patreons. So it's those people, you can select a tier and then it kind of gives you the link and you get added directly to that. That's more an active server that I'm on which I share things, and people have a chat. They have a chat group, and we have like a monthly session just for that group. And also there's a tier for one-on-one if you want a kind of like a perspective, one-on-one perspective sessions, and we can do that as well. So people, much love to you all. Take care, stay blessed, have an awesome day, and remember to do the love, man. Don't do the hate, people. Do the love. Salamullahi alaikum wa khuda hafiz, people. Over and out.